Hello, boys.
Wonderful.
Hey, Big Daddy, how you doing?
And off we go, ladies and gentlemen. Another rousing edition of the Rob Brown Show.
Hello, boys.
Hello, boys.
Hello, boys.
Hello, boys.
Hello, boys.
I'm going with yes.
You don't recognize it?
Hello, boys.
I do not.
It's Rabbi Tuckman. You not recognize Rabbi Tuckman?
I did not.
You don't know? You don't remember who Rabbi Tuckman
I
is?
am blanking on this.
Come on.
Is that Robin Hood Men in Tights?
Yes.
Hello, boys.
Okay.
He's
Okay. Mel Brooks.
he's greeting the merry men.
Hello, boys.
Checks out. Great movie, by the way.
I don't care. If you don't get the reference, you should look it up.
You should just watch Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Exactly.
It's genuinely one of the funnest movies of all time. And shoot, bless you. No, that's my name. Dave Chappelle in that movie. Fantastic. Unlike other Robin Hoods, I speak with a British accent. Fantastic, which I didn't say in a British accent. Doesn't matter. You get the point. Phenomenal movie. Thanks, Mel Brooks. You're the best. Welcome in. The foremost electrifying hours in sports talk entertainment underway. It is the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one Lonzo, and you. Spartanburg, Hub City Spartanburgers text line open, 844-326-3663. That's the number to call the show. That's the number to get on the air. Twitter, at the Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word, at the Fan Upstate. And, of course, our live stream up and running this and every morning at the Fan Upstate on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. The Rob Brown Show on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch.
Hi.
We have got so much to get to today on the program. I mean, just a gazillion things that we got to cover. Your Women's College World Series finals are set. We got an in-state rivalry as the Red Raiders, guns up, of Texas Tech are set to take on the Longhorns, Texas. Got a little George W. Bush special coming your way in the Women's College World Series finals. That's going to start on Wednesday. We'll play game on 2 on daggum Thursday, and then if they need it, and I hope they do, we'll have this game 3 on Friday. Strategery. Can't wait. Great games yesterday. Phenomenal games yesterday. Texas Tech with the walk-off against the reigning defending, four-time consecutive national championship winning the Oklahoma Boomer Sooners. Red Raiders get it done yesterday, walk-off fashion, bottom 7, a big dong to send them into the finals. Of course, over on the other side, Tennessee and Texas got together in a matchup that, of course, just meant more, but didn't. It meant the exact same because they're Texas Tech and Texas both headed to the softball finals coming up.
Something can have the same result, but mean more.
Mean more?
Yeah, it can.
Yeah, that's fair. It did not mean more for Tennessee. They head home. Oklahoma cannot repeat. Texas Tech will take their spot in the finals. So we'll talk about that later on in the show. Last night, old Robbie B stayed up way too gosh darn late because the men's regionals were chef's kiss. We had 6 of the 16 regionals that had to have a Monday championship final. And our bracket for the Supers is now officially set and locked in. So we'll take a look at the results from last night. A couple of shockers, a couple of maybe not so shockers. And we're going to look at those as well as get you set up for the entire Super Regional bracket as the road to Omaha continues. The Women's College World Series finals, by the way, taking place in Oklahoma City. That, of course, because that is where the new facility is in, in process, has been built to host the 2028 Summer Olympic Games, where softball will be back on the roster, as will baseball. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show, as well as, again, run you up and down the bracket over in the NBA and the NHL. Stanley Cup Finals start tomorrow. I have now hit the point. No, my team's not involved. No, my team is not playing in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals.
Wait, you have a team?
I have 2 of them.
Wow.
I have 2 of them. Big Preds guy over here. Where's my Preds thing? There it is. My Preds thing's on the wall back there.
Oh, okay.
There's my Preds banner. There's my Preds banner back there. And also, I will say that unlike in most of the other sports, I have become a fan. I mean, I kind of was already a fan of the Canes when I got here. Like I was going to say, I've become a fan of the team that we cover. I've not become a fan of the Carolina Panthers. I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of making money, and I do more of that when that team is good. So I do root for my wallet, which means I need the Panthers to be good. The Falcons, obviously, despise them with every fiber of my being down to the core of my soul. Hate the Atlanta Falcons. Do not even wish them to be good, even if it would make me more money. That's rivalry, baby. I'm not a Clemson fan. I am not a South Carolina fan, but I did marry one, so I kind of got a rooting interest in the old "if Mama's happy, I'm happy" philosophy. But I don't pull for one of those two teams, for either of those two teams. I have not become a fan of any of the teams we cover, with the exception of the Carolina Hurricanes. I am on board with the Canes. And a lot of that came from before I moved here, when Don Cherry called them a bunch of jerks. And the next year, they just went ahead and released an entire line of swag where it was all like legitimate swag. It was all their logos, their colors, their team, whatever. But instead of saying Hurricanes on the swag said bunch of jerks. Yeah, I can get behind a team that does that. I can get behind a team that says, "Oh, you're gonna call us a bunch of jerks, huh? We'll put that on a T-shirt and sell it to our fans." It was great. I actually, well before I moved here, actually used to own a bunch of jerks T-shirt because I thought it was great. I like the Canes. I like the Preds. Neither of those teams in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals, and yet I will watch it with like 2% less excitement and enthusiasm because the Stanley Cup Finals are not only a phenomenal end-of-season event, but on top of being a phenomenal end-of-season event, I also think that the Stanley Cup Finals is a 7-game slapper. I think this thing's going to be great. I think this could be incredible. And we're going to give you today on the show our first full breakdown of that series. How I see it playing out, who I like, how many games, etc., etc., etc. So we'll do that later in the show. I'm pretty excited about the NBA Finals. I did see somebody yesterday say on the internet, because people on the internet are dumb, bad, and wrong with great regularity. I did see somebody yesterday say on the internet that this is not an exciting NBA Finals. This is not an exciting NBA Finals. And I have to tell you, ordinarily when I hear something that dumb from somebody, I would pull the clip, I would edit the clip, I would prepare the clip, and I would bring the clip to you. And I'm going to tell you who it was that said it so that we could all dunk on that guy. But I listened to that clip like 3 or 4 times, and I did not understand what the point of the clip was. I actually have another clip I'm going to play later that I'm like, I don't know what your point is, but I do want to respond to it anyway. Because that's what radio's all about. But I heard a clip from a guy saying, Pacers Thunder is not an exciting NBA Finals. And I said, why? Why is it not?
Maybe that person believes the hype that says OKC is going to sweep this and that Indiana has no chance.
That is not the argument that they made.
Because all the experts are saying that. So at least the ones that I have seen, the so-called experts.
You're right. The overall swing. This is why the Oklahoma City Thunder are a minus 750 favorite. In the last 20 years, they have the second lowest odds. Well, I guess that's a second shortest odds as a favorite to win the NBA Finals. The only team that had longer favorited odds than Oklahoma City was the 2017-18 Golden State Warriors. That was like peak dynasty mode when they took on the Cleveland Cavaliers, who were like the plucky underdogs that nobody picked to get out of the East that year. So if you believe that the Thunder are winning this thing in 4 or 5, then yeah, I mean, I guess I can understand how this isn't exciting to you. I don't think that is the case. I think that this is going 6 games at the minimum. I think it could very well get to 7. I think there's a lot about the Pacers that a lot of people are overlooking, A, and B, yes, the Thunder are very, very good. Defensively, they're as good defensively as they are offensively, and we know how good they are behind SGA offensively. But I think there's a lot the Pacers can lean on to match that. So assuming that you don't think that this is a series that is over in 4 or 5, I don't know how this series isn't exciting. And then somebody made the argument that Tyrese Halliburton, as talented as he is boring. And I realized why we have a problem with basketball in 2025. We have a problem with basketball in 2025. And I'm going to elaborate on this coming up in the next segment of the show. Because this stuck under my craw a little bit. I don't really understand that expression for people. What with us not having craws, this got under my shell. Don't have that either. But whatever. I'm not here to judge language today. I realize why we have a problem with basketball in 2025. And it is not Tyrese Halliburton's fault. In fact, I think more teams can take advantage of this in the future. But I think the conversation came to a head for me because of Tyrese Halliburton and what Tyrese Halliburton did in, if nothing else, I can utilize the NBA's Eastern Conference Finals as a reason for that. So coming up in the next segment, I'll tell you about that. It's a little early for the tease because we still got like 3 more minutes in this segment, but here we are. We got here. It was organic. That's what radio is all about, baby. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the radio broadcast. We heard from Chuck yesterday. First time Chuck grabbed the mic, he was on the Dan Patrick Show. Chucky grabbed the mic and spoke to Dano about what the future is for the Inside the NBA television program. And it ain't good. It ain't good. Bill Simmons had some comments on the show yesterday that I think were probably in line with mine, but also a little bit more on the technical side. And I think he was right and had a point. And I saw a lot of people on the internet when Bill Simmons says, I think ESPN is going to bleep up this show, which has become kind of has become a bit of an iconic show amongst those of us that love the basketballing. Has kind of, a lot of people were basically accusing Bill Simmons of being biased, holding a grudge against the 4-letter. Bill Simmons, of course, used to work for ESPN. They had a pretty nasty divorce back in the day. A lot of people are like, oh, Bill, you're just saying this because you hate ESPN. And I disagree. I think Bill made a really good point that justifies my, as a fan of Inside the NBA, as somebody who loves that show and considers it the only studio basketball show worth watching, I think Bill actually had a very solid point about what he said. So I'm going to play you that audio later on in the show, and we'll get to that. College Football Hall of Fame class of 2026 finalists have been announced. There are some names on the final list. The final list. Get it? They're finalists, but it is the final list. There are names on the final list that I would like to talk about later on in the show. 3 coaches getting on board. One of them, I'm like, you had a great moment, and you definitely made a low-tier program recognizable, but, like, is that really really Hall of Fame caliber? And then a couple of players on the list that really good players, but is that, we're going to do like we do in baseball. Is that really the representation of the game that you want? And then a couple of really damn good players that are obviously worthy of being on that list. So I'll give you the complete class of 2026 College Football Hall of Fame list later on in the radio program as well. Going to talk some baseball. The Bravos didn't lose yesterday. That was exciting. That was a nice change of pace from they didn't play last night, Lonzo. They didn't play last night. So therefore they didn't lose last night, which is a dumb old sports joke, but it's also gotten to the point for me as a Braves fan that I'm like, hey, celebrate good times. Come on. Woo-hoo. We didn't lose. I'll take it. The Bravos are getting set for a 3-game setback at the crib tonight against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And we got an ace showdown tonight, Zach Gallen and Spencer Strider. So the Braves are going to lose again tonight and drop to 27-32. Now 5 games below 500. Remember 2 weeks ago when they got to 500 and you guys were like, yuck, see, Rob, here they are. And I went, well, maybe slow your roll a little bit.
Yeah, I don't remember anyone sounding like that, but maybe.
I do. That's exactly what it sounded like in my head.
Okay, all right.
Ronnie's back, Rob. Yuck. We're going to be just fine. Remember when I said chill? That's not true. Remember when I said one guy's not changing this lineup? Remember when y'all said, Spencer Strider's back, Rob. We're going to the chip, yuck. And I went, hey, maybe pull back on the throttle there a little bit, Ace.
That's why people come to this program, for your positivity about the Atlanta Braves.
Overwhelming positivity. Braves are now 4 games below 500 after tonight when the Diamondbacks beat them, and the Braves fall to 27-32. Now 5 games. I say now, tomorrow, we will wake up 5 games below 500. Once that happens, then I expect all of you who called this radio program 2-3 weeks ago when the Braves got to 500 and you said, Rob Huke, you're a doomer. Rob Huke, you just hate yourself. Rob Huke, have a good time.
Alarm.
It's not even a panic anymore.
Alarm.
You know what it is? So if it's all right. You know that guy? You remember the movie 2012, the Apocalypse movie?
Yeah, one of my favorite movies.
Yes, phenomenal movie. I actually really enjoy that movie. I don't know why, but I really do.
It's the Russian dude. I mean,
it's Woody Harrelson.
well, yeah, of course.
Remember Woody's character? He's like the conspiracy theorist, and he's like doing the ham radio broadcast, and he's warning everybody. And everybody's like, "Oh, you're a doomer. You're a gloomer."
Yeah, I
You're a
do my
doomer."
version of that on AI. So yes, without
So-
the pickles though, because that doesn't translate to radio.
So Woody's out there standing on the edge of, Yellowstone or whatever, and he's like, oh, it's going to be cataclysmic. And everybody's like, okay, you weirdo, you doomer, whatever. And then Woody's standing on the edge of Yellowstone as the volcanoes go off and the tsunamis come in and the earth cracks open and there's lava flying through the sky and all that. That's the point where he gets to look, and it's like standing next to him as the world burns and lava's coming out of the ground, and there's earthquakes, and there's tsunamis and all that, and be like, don't you think you're kind of pushing the panic button? The thing's right there! Just look at it! I'm not panicking about the fire. We're on fire! This isn't like, oh, here goes Rob being a too early panic artist again. A fear merchant. Here's Rob the fear merchant. It's not fear merchant. It is now June. You guys told me, Rob, don't worry about April. It's just April. And then he said, Rob, don't worry about May. It's just May. Are you ready to start your Rob, don't worry about June? It's just June? I'm sure you are. But the division's running away from you. The entire damn National League. Everybody who's not the Pirates and the Rockies.
There's still time for you to be a Dodgers fan or something. I mean, you can jump. There's 29 other baseball teams, right, that you could jump onto.
I would obviously rather maintain my loyalty and professionalism as a fan to be a band. That being said, I'm going to keep it a buck. If you're like, hey, Rob, Diamondbacks Braves tonight in Atlanta, and I don't know what the rest of oh, no, I do what the rest. Mets Dodgers is tonight, game 2 of that series. I'm going to tell you right now, if they're on at the same time, Mets Dodgers is going on the big TV, Braves are going on the big TV. That's where
So you've already made the jump. Okay.
No, because I'm not rooting for one of those teams. You know what I like? Good baseball. I like good baseball. Not getting it in Atlanta. When we come back, I know what the problem is for basketball in 2025, and it's Tyrese Halliburton's fault. Okay. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. Fan
QC.
All right, guys. Good morning, Trey. Good morning, buddy. Welcome in. Stay right there. I got a live read. We're coming right back. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, you know what you need? You need some thing that you can rub on your back that smells really bad that tells people, hey, there's an old person coming. That's what you need. Some Bengay, some icy hot, something like that.
My wife came in the room last night when I was playing video games, taking a break from real life. She's like, "Hey, can we write your gemstones tonight?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then I realized like 2 minutes later, both of us were sitting there. Tyrese Halliburton is arguably one of my favorite players. Not arguably one of them. Arguably my favorite player to watch in the NBA. Now, there are more talented pure scorers right now in the National Basketball Association. There are more talented ball distributors in the NBA right now than Tyrese Halliburton. Depending on what aspect of the game you're talking about. Dribble drive penetration, jump shot field goals, passing, whatever. Every one of those, there is one guy that is more talented at that thing than Tyrese Halliburton right now. However, I'll tell you what there is not. What there is not is a player in the NBA that is as good at all of those things as Tyrese Halliburton is right now. I think I figured out, and I did so with the assistance of Tyrese Halliburton, I think I have figured out a massive problem that the NBA is dealing with right now. And that massive problem that the NBA is dealing with right now is that the game itself, we as Americans have fundamentally changed what we love about basketball. We used to love basketball as a team sport. Now we love it as a team with a bunch of individual sport. We used to love basketball as a game where we saw a lot of ball distribution and ball movement. Now we like to see a guy take over the game and go get 50. And Tyrese Halliburton is the perfect example of that. Why? Because, and Mario made this point to me last Thursday, so I got to give him credit because he got me thinking about this, and I have not stopped thinking about it since then. Mario said, if you go look at the games that the Knicks won versus the games that the Pacers won, you will see one stat that jumps off the page before anything else. And it is about Tyrese Halliburton. He said the games that the Pacers win, Halliburton has 10 plus assists. The games that the Pacers lose, Tyrese Halliburton has 9 or fewer assists. So I just went and pulled up the last few games because I was somewhat curious about these games. Go back to game 2. Pacers win 114-109. Tyrese Halliburton, 11 assists in that game. Game 3, Knicks win 106-100. Tyrese Halliburton had 7 assists in that game. Let's go to, I don't have game 4 pulled up because I screwed the pooch, but let's go to game 5. Knicks win 111-94. Tyrese Halliburton, 6 assists in that game. Game 6, Indiana wins the series, wins the game 108-125 over the Knicks. Tyrese Halliburton, 13 assists in that game. I have figured it out. Because everybody's talking about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And why not? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just won the NBA's MVP award. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is, of right now, considered probably the most dangerous offensive player in the NBA. And yes, there's all the conversations about he's a free throw merchant and he's a flop and whatever. I don't know if I'm here for those or not, to keep it a buck with you. What I do know is, whether he is or is not, the man's putting up points in bunches, and he's carried the Oklahoma City Thunder to an NBA Finals appearance. So then I look over at Tyrese Halliburton. And Tyrese Halliburton, in Game 6, which they won, 21 points. In Game 5, which they lost, 8 points. In Game 3, which they lost, 20 points, 7 boards. In Game 2, which they won to give themselves a 2-0 lead, 14 points and 11 dimes. I have tried to tell people a couple of times over the last week. If you are looking at a guy with a stat line of 14, 11, and 8 boards, if you really want to put into perspective what that guy means for the team, and this is like very high school basketball coach of me, but take those assists and change them into points. 11 assists is 22 points. And by the way, that does not give credit for dribble drive, kick it out outside the three because the defense collapses around you, a guy knocks down a three-pointer. Even if we say 10% of those field goals were threes, let's say 2 of those 11 assists were threes. Now we're looking at 24 or 25 points that Tyrese Halliburton is responsible for via assist. Tyrese Halliburton is, and this is something I have conversations with a lot of old hat basketball fans a lot. They say, oh, Rob, I miss the old days. I miss the old days of team basketball. I miss the old days where it was about moving the ball around. I miss the old days where it was about distributing. I miss the old days. If you are one of those players, I've been telling you for a hot minute now, one of the guys I'd watch is Giannis Antetokounmpo, who plays such a very old school physical style of basketball, such an old school physical style of basketball that I very much think that you would appreciate this guy. But then there's Tyrese Halliburton. And Tyrese Halliburton right now, as far as I'm concerned, is probably the most old school classic point guard available in the game right now. There are some other guys that I think probably in that mix. Guys like Chris Paul was that way for a very long time. I got to watch Chris Paul play 100 times when he was down in New Orleans. I loved Chris Paul. But as far as top-notch players, guys that are marquee players, guys that are at the top of the game right now, Tyrese Halliburton's in that group. But I think what happens is people look at a 114-109 win. People look at that Game 6, 125-108 win. And they see 21 points while Pascal Siakam, who won the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. And for the record, I don't have any problem with that. People look at the 31 points out by Pascal Siakam's name. And they go, if Tyrese Halliburton is a star, is a marquee banner, put his name up in lights. You're trying to get me watch the NBA Finals? Tell me who the guy is. Tyrese Halliburton. But if you are looking at this line and asking the question, how in the world are you going to sell me on Tyrese Halliburton? The answer for me is, I don't know that there is a more complete, and I'll call him, point guard right now in the NBA. There are guys that are better passers. There are guys that are better shooters, both from the field and from three. There are guys that are probably better about getting to the line. There are guys that are probably better at dribble, drive, and penetrate. There's a lot of guys that can do individual aspects of the game better than Tyrese Halliburton. I don't think there's a guy in the game that does all the things combined together as a point guard better than Tyrese Halliburton. And oh, by the way, Tyrese Halliburton, a point guard wrapped up in a 6'5", 185-pound body. Tyrese Halliburton, who can absolutely play physical basketball if he needs to. He can draw that attention to himself when he gets down into the paint, down by the free throw line, out to the elbow, out to the short corner, by driving the rock, make guys come out and physically defend him, and then he sees that well and distributes that well. And the games that he hasn't are the games that the Pacers have lost. The problem we have with basketball today, in my opinion, the reason that the NBA struggles to grow its audience, not to get it, the numbers are fine, but the reason the NBA is struggling to grow its audience is very simply because we as fans have decided that we like this concept of that one guy who takes over a game, that one guy who does incredibly physical things, gifted things to get inside and to score. And I'm not saying there's not room for that in basketball. There obviously is. But here is a cat who is playing a very old school style point guard, and it doesn't get talked about. Here is a cat that you can almost set You're a scoreboard watch. 2, if he gets 10 assists, his team is winning. And if he gets 9 or fewer, they're losing. You know what that tells me? That guy's the man, dog. It tells me that that guy is the guy who is the engine that makes this team go. And so if you're looking at this NBA Finals and you're breaking it down and saying the Pacers can't win because Tyrese can't outscore SGA, that's never their game plan. Their game plan is not to have Tyrese outscore your best player. Their game plan is to have Tyrese get close to your best player, but also get 11, 12, 13 assists so that guys like Pascal Siakam can add to that total. That's how the Pacers have won to get to the NBA Finals. And if they are able to make this series competitive, that's how they'll do it here. Tyrese Halliburton is old school basketball. And some of you young cats need to learn to appreciate that. And some of you old hats that complain that the NBA ain't the way it was when you loved it, you need to be Tyrese Halliburton fans. I'm right. You're welcome. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Better is the word, Jesse. I'm definitely not all the way back. I'm fighting a serious migraine right now. Put together new chairs yesterday for the kitchen table or dining room table or whatever, and then realized the cat is going to tear these up. Apparently there are covers that you can buy to go over the chairs, which Lisa already ordered them. Let's see if the chairs survive.
Are they like fabric?
No, they're leather, and that's probably a mistake. But she had already ordered them and put them together, and it's like, oh, okay. The
She
cat,
might. I mean, she might not.
she will.
Depends on how much she has to feel with the sink in her claws.
She will.
The Rob Brown Show on your radio, the Fan Upstate, Rob Lonzo, and you. We talked some NBA in the last segment. We talked about Tyrese Halliburton. The NBA Finals start on Thursday, by the way. We'll obviously do a couple of breakdowns of both the series and game by game as the week progresses and all the way up until, hopefully, fingers crossed, a Game 7. There's nothing better in sports than a Game 7. I want to talk about this series as a whole. Lonzo brought up back in the first segment of the radio program that if you listen to the talking heads, that by and large, not everybody, but by and large, most of the talking heads have just talked themselves into Thunder in a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. And again, the Vegas odds line up with that. Oklahoma City opened as a minus 725 favorite. There has only been one team in the past 2 decades to enter the NBA Finals with worse betting odds as a favorite, and that was the 2017-18 Golden State Warriors, the year that they took on the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think this series has an opportunity to be much better than that. By the way, public pushing back a little bit, so the numbers have changed. The Thunder opened at minus 750. They are now down to minus 700. The Pacers opened up at plus 525. They are now at plus 500. So the money and the bets, whether it is because of the value of those
I
numbers.
was going to say, is this a Vegas ruse to try to get more people to bet for Indiana?
No, Vegas wants 50% on both sides. That way they win either way, right? The juice on one side or the other. I think what happened here, there's two reasons a number moves. And I will not spend a ton of time on gambling on this, but for the sake of being able to look at these numbers and understand what they mean, basically so as a non-gambler, you don't overreact when someone like me says, oh, look at this number change. When a number changes, there are effectively two reasons that it changes. Either A, something about the game changed, or B, more of the bet/money is coming in on one side than the other. So if you have a number like Thunder minus 750 and it drops to minus 700, there's one of two things that has caused that. Now, if it's a rapid drop, right? Like if it's 750 when you go to bed and it's 650 when you wake up the next night, most likely you're going to hear some news that day. You're going to find out that SGA's been dealing with calf cramps or something, that they're worried it's going to impact his performance. When it drops over a few days, like this number has, right? It's dropped a little bit per day since the opening line. That means that people are putting money on the Pacers. That's the reaction to the public bets. Now, that does not mean that there's like a huge group of people out there that believe that the Pacers are going to win. It could be that 2 or 3 big-time high rollers, like Drake likes to put $1 million on series outcomes. It could be a guy like 2 or 3 Drakes go to these books and they put $1 million bets down. Well, his $1 million bet, the casino still wants to equal it out. Meaning that they got Drake putting in $1 million on Pacers plus 20. I'm making this up, but just to kind of give you a hypothetical reality. If Drake walks in and puts down $1 million, Vegas has got to do what they can do to get $1 million on the other side too. And if there's not another whale out there willing to put down $1 million bet, then what do they have to do? They got to get 5 million Rob Browns who throw down $50 on the series. And they got to stack a bunch of $50 bills to equal Drake's $1 million money order. All right? So what this is saying to me, the numbers on the NBA Finals winner going from 750 to 700. What it says to me is a lot of gamblers are looking at this and they're going, I think the Thunder are going to win. But I'm going to put some change on the Pacers anyway. Because if the Pacers win, even though they're probably not going to, if they do, it is the NBA. Upsets happen. If the Pacers win this series, I'm getting 7 times my money back. I bet 100, I get 700 back if they win. So I'm probably losing this 100, but just in case, I'll have it covered and I'm making 700 back. Now, why are those numbers the way that those numbers are? I think a lot of what I talked about in the last segment has to do with this. The Thunder are a flashy team. SGA is a flashy player. I don't want to say Chet Holmgren is a flashy player by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think he has, over the last series, over the Western Conference Finals win, Chet Holmgren kind of started to turn into a guy that you trust down low. And then, as we've talked about, Oklahoma City Thunder had the second best points per possession defensive rating in the NBA regular season. Not postseason, regular season. Every single team. Second best defense in terms of points allowed per possession. They only gave up, I think I saw the number this morning, and like, this number's so ridiculous that I'm genuinely, I should have looked it up during the break, genuinely struggling to accept it. I believe that I read that the Thunder give up 103 points per 100 possessions. So out every team that they play, every 100 times they have the basketball, they only give up 103 points. Why is that number impactful? Because in an average NBA game, a team has like 85 to 95 possessions. That means the Thunder are giving up less than 100 points per game on average. In the NBA. An NBA that everybody complains, what? No defense, too many scores that are like 140 to 130 at the end of it. The Thunder were averaging 103 per 100 possessions. That's a ridiculous number. And that, I think, is why people are lined up on the Thunder. Because they pair that with SGA being SGA, Chet Holmgren down low, Jalen Williams, who is really coming to his own in these NBA playoffs. People look at that number and they go, there's no way the Pacers work around that. But, and I've made this argument before, to me, the reason that the Pacers are the Pacers, the reason that the Pacers work, is number one, the Pacers want 100 possessions per game. I went back and we looked at the field goal attempts per game, and I pointed out that much like Halliburton, if Tyrese Halliburton gets 11 assists or more, the Pacers win. If he gets 9 or fewer, they lose. Much like that number is a pretty good indicator of what happens with the Pacers. If we get to halftime of a game and Tyrese has got like 7, 8 assists, Pacers in a good spot. If you get to halftime and he's got 2 or 3 assists, Pacers in a bad spot. The same is true with the, pardon the expression, pace of an Indiana game. If Indiana gets 82, 85 field goal attempts up, they're probably losing that game. That's a team that wants to get 97, 98 field goal attempts in a game. Not because they shoot at a low percentage. If you only shoot at a 35, 40, 42% clip, then yeah, you want to have as many field goal attempts as you can just so the numbers work out in your favor. That's not why Indiana wants that many possessions. Indiana wants that many possessions so that they can make the game back and forth rapid. They can make it fast. They can make it a quick game because they want to wear you out. It's what they did to the Knicks. I've been giving flowers, even on the nationally syndicated spots I've done, to Tom Thibodeau because the Pacers came into this game, into that series, into the Eastern Conference Finals with a strategy. We want to have 100-plus possessions per game. Why? So that we wear the Knicks down. Because Tom Thibodeau likes to play his 5 starters and like 3, max 4 bench players in any given game. And if you are in a spot where there are very few times in the game where the Knicks don't have 3 starters on the floor, we're going to wear their legs out. And while it may end up in 6, 7 games, here's what we know. We're going to do to the Knicks what the Thunder did to the Nuggets.
Yeah, you might take us to 7, but by the time we get to 7, dog, you are going to be tired. And we have been playing this all year. I can do this all day. Like that's what the Pacers have done. So, to me, the Pacers staying in this series is reliant on having 95, 96, 97, 100 field goal attempts per game. If they can go and get 100 field goals up in a game, which is going to feel to many of you who have maybe not watched a lot of Pacers games, it's going to feel frustrating because it's going to feel rushed. You want to know why it's going to feel rushed? Because it's rushed. That's their game. They're the most appropriately named basketball team maybe in the history of basketball. It's going to feel rushed because it is rushed, but they're not rushing it because they're frazzled. They're not rushing it because they are trying to overcome being a bad shooting team. Right? Again, if you shoot 36% as a team, yeah, I got to get 100 field goals up so that I make 36 of them and give myself a shot and then still play good defense. That's not why the Pacers do it. The Pacers do it to wear down your starters, to get you to the second. Now, there's a bit of a good thing going on here for Oklahoma City. They bring Alex Caruso off the bench. Hustle monster, stamina monster. They bring Cason Wallace, who's had a couple of big spots. They bring Jalen Williams, not the starter, the other one. There's 2 Jalen Williams on this team. One's got a Y in his name. They bring him on. They got some guys that can kind of step in. They got some guys that can kind of fill the reserve while the starters go get an oxygen mask over on the sideline. But they're not as talented as Indiana. And I would even go so far as to say, I don't know that I don't trust the second run of Pacers, maybe even a little bit more than I trust the second line of Thunders. I'm looking at Obi Toppin, who has been spectacular. I'm looking at Benedict Mathurin, who has had how many big moments for the Pacers in this series. This team, Indiana, is going to get up and down and up and down. And again, the number that jumps off the page at me, 103 points per 100 possessions for the Thunder. That is a chef's kiss spectacular defensive rating for the Thunder. But if the Pacers are able to go take 100 field goal attempts in a game, get 100 possessions in a game, that means there's your baseline 103. And now, if I have a baseline 103, because that's what the Pacers give up 100 possessions per game, and the Pacers are going to have 100 possessions per game on their best nights. If they do that, there's 103, and now we need the above average from Tyrese, from Nembhard, from Nesmith, from Siakam, from Turner. For the record, one of the things I really like for the Pacers here, I think Miles Turner and Chet Holmgren, I think they're pretty equal sides of the equation, right? I'm not real good at math, but I do remember my favorite part when we were learning how to do equations. Do you know what it was? Draw up your equation, find the equal sign, and anything that's identical on both sides, cancel them out, baby. That was my favorite part of math. You mean I just get to eliminate stuff from it? You know what my favorite thing about math is? When I don't have to do it. That's my favorite part about math. Holmgren and Turner, to me, are nearly identical variables on opposite sides of the equation. Let's X those out. Well, Holmgren was how big in that series against the Thunder? Against the Nuggets. Holmgren was how big in that series against the Timberwolves? The answer is very. Was there a game in the Eastern Conference Finals that you would say was one loss or dictated by Miles Turner? I'm going to say no. The Pacers are better as a team around, not included, and equaled out big man than I think the Thunder are. Now, the Thunder have SGA, no doubt about it. But over on the other side is Tyrese Halliburton, who's a walking triple-double, who's a guy who can go get you 22, but he's also going to pitch in 12, 13, 14 assists and grab you 10, 11 boards too. SGA is going to get you 34, 35, but but he's going to have 5 assists and he's going to have 4 boards. As good as SGA is, I don't need Tyrese Halliburton to be better than SGA. I need him, with his points and his assists combined, to be equal to him. And now we're talking about Pascal Siakam. Oh, Rob, how the hell are you going to bring up Siakam? Siakam just won the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The dude's playing the best basketball of his career, and he's had a pretty good career. Now we're talking about Aaron Nesmith, who nobody was talking about Aaron Nesmith before the Eastern Conference semifinals and finals, and now all of a sudden we're like, yo, is Aaron Nesmith like a top-notch second-tier dude? Maybe so. I like the Pacers to make this. I'm not going to say win. I'm not there yet. But I like the Pacers to make this series competitive, and there's my reasoning. When we come back, water cooler cheat sheet, top 3 sports stories you need to know. A college football story tossed in there, a little college baseball and softball postseason and more. And then it's whatever you guys want to get to in the 7 o'clock hour. We got some NHL Stanley Cup playoffs and more, but I want you involved today. You've been quiet this week, and I won't stand for it. What I will stand for, because I'm going to leave the room, is Lonzo's Sports Flash.
It is only Tuesday. In college baseball, the final 6 spots in the Super Regionals were claimed last night. North Carolina knocked off Oklahoma 14-4, and will take on Arizona in the next round. LSU beat Little Rock 10-6, and we'll get West Virginia in the Supers. Oregon State blanked USC 9-0, and will host FSU. Murray State upset Ole Miss 12-11, and will face Duke. Tennessee upended Wake Forest and advanced to face Arkansas, and finally Miami rallied to beat Southern Miss 5-4 and get Louisville in the Super Regionals. Novak Djokovic won his 100th career French Open, second behind only Rafael Nadal, with a 6-2, 6-3, 6-2 win over Cam Norrie. With the win, Djokovic makes his way into the quarterfinals at Roland Garros and has yet to give up a set in the tournament. And the Women's College World Series is set, and for the first time in a long time, it will not feature Oklahoma. The Sooners were taken down by the Red Raiders of Texas Tech 3-2 in the semifinals. I only said it's only Tuesday because he's complaining about not that much feedback this week, and it's only Tuesday. It's Tuesday, it's summer, people go on vacations. There's lots of reasons why, you know. Sorry about not having his mic in the proper spot, but at the same time, he's so loud you heard him through mine.
Send it to our headquarters in Tennessee, where we digitize everything preserved and stored in the cloud, so you can easily stream, download, and share your memories anytime, anywhere. Join the millions of families with your trusted Legacy Box. Go to legacybox.com/value for
And actual Red Bull, please. Yeah, I'm trying to decrease the energy drink, so it's just been all water for your boy this week. And
Again,
get it.
it's just Tuesday. So
check back on Thursday. I'll probably be holding a bottle, a barrel.
whatever that thing is. My goal is to go home today and do nothing, but I'm in building mode.
Oh,
So-
you're in productive mode?
Yeah, so I just need to go buy something else to build. When I say build, I don't mean from scratch. I mean something that has instructions, but you still have to put it together. And I really enjoy things that, require Allen wrenches in awkward places, because that's so much fun. I have this thing with other heads for my drill, but I put it in the new toolbox and I can't get the drawer open. Like the top drawer open, the bottom drawer open, the middle two I can't get open, and that's where the stuff is. And not everybody, a ton of people online have had the same problem with this thing, and everyone has a different solution how to get it open, and I can't get it open. It's frustrating.
The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate, the foremost electrifying hours of sports talk entertainment you are going to find anywhere on the radio. Did you see this story about Max Homa? I want to talk about it later in the show. Max Homa was attempting to qualify for the U.S. Open, which is not this weekend, but next weekend. The BMW Pro-Am's this weekend, by the way. He was attempting to qualify, and apparently, after a round, he and his caddy had a blow up, and he fired his caddy in tournament. And then ended up having to lug his own bag for 36 holes. Ended up carrying his own golf bag. Now, as a rank and file garbage golfer, yeah, so do I. I get it. So do I. But guys who finish at the bottom of the leaderboard at the U.S. Open stand to make tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I got to tell you, if you said, Rob Brown, you've got to go out there and shoot an all-time great score, and if you do, I'll give you $1 million. You bet your Rudy Patootie that I'm going out there to find somebody who knows that course inside and out to carry my bag so that I'm doing the least amount of strain on myself as possible. I want to talk about this later because, there are people online and in this radio studio that are roasting Max Homa for having to carry his own bag and people making a big deal out of it. But I'm also going to suspect those people have never had an opportunity to perform a feat of athletics for a check that had 6 figures on it. So, you can roast them all you want.
Neither of you.
Correct. And if I did, I'd have a caddy, without a doubt. I want to do the least possible.
But we're saving this, you said.
Oh, I'm coming back to this for sure. For sure. Texter said, who has a baby in the studio today? Lonzo keeps one in his computer. For exactly stories like that. And yes, Texter, it also drives me up a bleeping wall.
That's the point. Hello.
I know. Hub City Spartanburg text line 844-326-3663, 844-FANFO. Text that number. We'll read it on the air, or call that number and get yourself on the air. I want you guys involved with the radio program today. You were very quiet on me yesterday, and I did not appreciate it at all. So don't be today. Bring it.
But you weren't quiet on me, and I appreciate all the welcome backs. It's fine.
Well, people were worried you died.
And you should be concerned because it's not good. But Give Rob some love. Apparently, he needs some today. I don't know what's going on.
And the show's better with more people on it. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. It is 7:03 in the morning.
You know what? Maybe if you read more texts, people would be more involved.
Okay, Cole. Relax. 7:03 in the morning. You've got a little under 57 minutes until you've got to get your rumpus into the chair at the office and get those passive-aggressive emails responded to. Then you stand up, you walk down the hall, and you do the thing that you love to do the most. And that thing, of course, is talk sports with your coworkers. It's really the only reason you even go to work anymore. Well, don't you worry, because if you don't know what's going on in the world of sports, we got you covered. It's all the stuff we're going to talk about when we do this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying, "What kind of place is this?" Bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office this morning and start talking sports with your coworkers. Ordinarily, these are the 3 biggest stories in sports. Sometimes they are the 3 most talked about stories in sports. I think today may be one of those days. So allow us, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd be so kind, to dive right in with item number 1. Your NCAA Women's College World Series finals are set. We had our 2 semifinal games yesterday, Texas and Tennessee, in an all-SEC matchup. The Longhorns get the better of the Lady Volunteers. 2-0 is your final score in that one. They advance to the championship finals. On the other side of the bracket, the reigning, defending, 4-time national champions, the Oklahoma Boomer Sooners, find their way out of the championship series. They drop a 3-2 decision to the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. Guns up. Texas Tech with the walk-off 3-2 victory, bottom 7. They found themselves in a slugfest. Dug deep, got that dub. We will start the Women's College World Series on Wednesday, Game 2 Thursday, if necessary. Game 3 on Friday. We'll take a deeper look at that championship finals when we get a little bit closer. Over on the baseball side of things, we had 6 regionals that required a Monday finish to figure out who was on to the Supers. And we know now. North Carolina knocked off Oklahoma 14-4. Chapel Hill elated last night as their Tar Heels have moved on. LSU was down 5 to the 27-34 Little Rock University. Little Rock, of course, is the Trojans. Sorry, I had to wait for that to load. That's not true. I watched that game last night. Little Rock up 5 on LSU at one point, but a late innings rally from the Tigers. Get a 10-6 win. LSU is on. Oregon State blanked USC 9-0. I'm sure they took great joy in knocking out their former Pac-12, now Pac-2 rivals. And 9-0 Oregon State moves on. Ole Miss falls to Murray State. Murray State gets the 12-11 win. The Racers are on to the Super Regionals. Tennessee, 11-5 winners over Wake Forest. And Miami needed to come from behind victory to get past the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. They are on to the Super Regionals as well. So we get set for our Super Regionals, which will start on Friday. Half of them will start on Friday. And then we'll move on to Saturday, Game 2, necessary Game 3. And then the rest, the other half, will start on Saturday with, if needed, their finals on Sunday. The Super Regionals square up this way. Miami takes on Louisville. Oregon State gets Florida State. North Carolina takes on Arizona. Auburn gets Coastal. On the other side of the bracket, Arkansas and Tennessee in an all-SEC matchup. The LSU Tigers, with their win, will move on to take on West Virginia, winners of the Clemson Regional. Murray State, out of the Oxford Regional, gets Duke, who won the Athens Regional. And we wrap it up with the Austin Regional winners of UTSA taking on the LA winners of UCLA. So there's your super regional matchups. Again, half of them start on Friday, the other half on Saturday. And that means the Friday ones will conclude either Saturday or Sunday. The Saturday ones conclude either Sunday or Monday. We will talk a lot more college baseball later on in the week. Let's get to item number 2. The College Football Hall of Fame class of 2026 ballot has been named. We now know our finalists. The National Football Foundation released the ballot yesterday for the class that will be announced next January. There are 79 players and 9 coaches from the Football Bowl subdivision and 100 players and 35 coaches from lower levels. Of the highlight players, we have Mark Ingram, Cam Newton, and Robert Griffin III, all Heisman Trophy winners. Joining them on that ballot are AP National Player of the Year Domikong Suh. Other players include Iowa's Brad Banks, Colorado's Eric Bieniemy, Oklahoma State's Des Bryant, Penn State's Kajana Carter, Pittsburgh's Aaron Darnold, Marvin Harrison of Cuse, Josh Heupel as a player for Oklahoma, James Laurinaitis from Ohio State, Ryan Leaf out of Washington State, Cal's Marshawn Lynch, Illinois' Simeon Rice, and Florida State's Peter Warrick. On the coaching ballot are Larry Coker of Miami. Gary Patterson is on that list. So is Chris Peterson, Boise State's all-time wins leader, who led the Broncos to 2 undefeated seasons and led the Washington Cougs to the 2016 college football playoff. There is one more story out of this announcement that is very interesting. The National Football Foundation also announced an adjustment to the eligibility criteria for coaches to be considered for induction. The minimum career winning percentage required for coaching eligibility will go from 600, a 60% winning percentage, to 595, 59.5. Why? Because by dropping it from 60% to 59.5%, Mike Leach is now eligible, the former Mississippi State and Texas Tech head coach who passed away in 2022, had a 596 winning percentage with a 158-107 record over 21 seasons at Texas Tech, Washington State, and Mississippi State. Of course, Leach was known for the only name I have is the Mike Leach air raid, as well as pulling multiple upsets, won 18 games against top 25 opponents when his team was unranked. So Mike Leach will likely be on the ballot next year, and we will talk more about that later on in the show. But let's get to item number 3. Remember when I was setting this up and I said that ordinarily the water cooler cheat sheet is the top 3 biggest sports stories, but sometimes they're the most talked about stories? Here is one of them. I don't know when the conversation about Shedeur Sanders is going to stop. I assume it's going to be when either A, he turns into the guy Deion says he's going to be, or B, when he washes out of the league. Or I guess C, just becomes a stalwart, long-time number 2 quarterback. We'll find out. But yesterday, Deion Sanders was on the Say What Needs to Be Said podcast hosted by former NFL cornerback Asante Samuel, because everybody gets a podcast now. Deion said that criticism and reports about Shedeur Sanders being unprepared during pre-draft meetings, quote, hurt. He said, quote, "It did hurt, but the Bible says God uses the foolish things to confound the wise." There was some foolish stuff that went on, but that gave them something that they needed. Like that edge that Tom Brady had, it gave them the edge that you had. It gave them the edge that I have. Folks said we weren't going to be nothing, but we had to prove it. It gave them the edge that they needed, both of them. Talking about Shedeur and, of course, his other son, Shiloh, who did not get drafted but was signed as a UDFA by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Deion said on Logan Paul's podcast, I say that only because I'm obligated to give him credit, that, quote, when you sit up there and say something like he went into a meeting unprepared, like, dude, Shedeur Sanders, who has had 6 different offensive coordinators, who is still functioning and leveled up every time we brought somebody new in, and you're going to tell me he was unprepared? You're going to tell me he had on headphones? Anybody who knows my son understands he's a professional. He's going to go into a meeting with headphones on. Y'all come on now, end quote. I don't really care. Like, I don't. I'm maybe it's just me. I'm like over the Shedeur Sanders stuff at this point. Shedeur, of course, one of 5 quarterbacks competing for the starting quarterback job of the Cleveland Browns, along with fellow rookie Dylan Gabriel, vets Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and, of course, Deshaun Watson. But Deshaun is rehabbing from that Achilles tear, so he won't be there. And even if he could be there, the Browns, I don't think, want him there. Anyway, I don't really care anymore about the Shedeur Sanders criticism. The Shedeur Sanders criticism got him dropped from the first round of the 5th. The Shedeur Sanders criticism caused Mel Kiper Jr., I think, to have a full-on aneurysm on TV. But got him dropped from the 1st to the 5th. And now Shedeur Sanders has an option. Option number 1, he can show up in the NFL. He can bust his ass. He can become a very good quarterback. He can make everybody eat crow. Or option number 2 is he can not do that, and all the reports get proven correct. But I'm going to say this. There is a difference, and I would say this to Deion respectfully. There is a difference between criticism of Shedeur Sanders as a player. I don't think he's got the arm. I don't think he's got the head. I don't think he's got the legs. I don't think he's got the toughness, the strength, much like we did with last year's Rookie of the Year, Jayden Daniels. Remember all the draft criticism about Jayden Daniels? Oh, he runs dumb. He runs into tackles. He's not smart enough to know when to go down versus when to gain the extra 2-3 yards. Criticism. Jayden Daniels went out there, had a hell of a year, led the Washington Commanders to the best season they've had in a very long-ass time, and won the NFL Rookie of the Year award. You have that option to you. But here's the thing. There is a difference between criticism of the player as a player and outright news reports of the things that he was doing and not doing. And while Lonzo loves to point out...
Were those reports confirmed?
I don't know how you would confirm them.
Exactly.
Right? I don't know how you would confirm them.
So are they news reports?
I mean, yeah.
Someone told someone that this happened. Does that make it news? I don't know. It depends on what you consider news.
When you get to a point, and again, no one is beyond reproach, but there are reporters at the top level who have earned credibility, that have earned trust, that have earned respect, and in whomst reports I trust until they give me a reason not to.
But didn't witness it firsthand, right?
That's not how reporting works.
It is to a degree. I mean, if you're a war reporter, you're out there in the war, and so you can report firsthand.
Sure.
So there are cases where you can report firsthand, but they're going on their sources, and I don't know. Sometimes maybe sources exaggerate.
I don't disagree with you, and sometimes they don't.
Right.
It's
so easy to grasp the negative and believe, oh, that absolutely happened. Oh, I could see that. Look at this. Look at that. And not think, okay, well, maybe that's not true. Some people like the negative more than believing that the negative may be a lie.
As a bona fide full-time skeptic, I agree with that entirely. I'll tell you what the other side of that coin, though, is. The other side of that coin is every time reporters say think bad, wrong. The other side of that coin is no reporters are worthy of trust and respect. No reporters can say, hey, I've got sources who are telling me X. I've looked into it. Here are the evidences that I have found to support this. And so I'm willing to go with this story.
So you're defending the media and you're implying that I don't believe anything that anyone in the media says.
No, what I'm saying is you are dismissive of it outright.
Also, that was specifically at me.
No, that was for sure.
Okay.
But you're not alone. There's an entire.
But that's not true. I do believe that there are honest reporters out there. In the end, I didn't say the reporter lied. I said maybe the source lied. That's what I said.
That is fine. But I would also say this isn't like a story that came from a guy. This was stories like this were being dropped by reporters who covered teams across the NFL. There were teams that had beat reporters talking about this. The only thing I'd say to Dion is, buddy, I'd just shut up and let Shador go prove us right or prove us wrong. That's all I'd say. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Deep.
Morning, big dog. Welcome in. Good to have you, Tiger Stripes Media. Glad you're here, partner. Give me 30 seconds. Hub City Spartanburger text line 844-326-3663. Couple of texts that have come in so far. Texter said, Dion needs to just shut up. Nobody gives a crap. He needs to learn to work quietly and let the results show themselves.
Wait. Dion needs to work quietly?
Yeah, right.
I mean, do you
Hey,
not?
keep it a buck here. Dion ain't where Dion is if he works quietly.
Exactly. I mean, that's part of his deal.
So I don't have an issue. I will say
If
one
Rob
thing.
were quiet, would he have won 3 awards for
Well,
being
probably
the best,
because you make the submissions.
You know, they're only as good as the product.
Okay, that's entirely true and fair.
Give
No.
yourself a little bit of credit.
The only thing that really kind of got me about that take was how Dion kept saying, we had to prove ourselves. We had to do this. We earned that. And my thought was,
Did he not have to do all that? So he's saying his son also has to.
no.
So
Wait,
you're trying to act like it's the we as an entity.
No. What I said was, when he said we did this, we had to, not we have, or we are going to, or we in the future will accomplish. He said we had, as if Shedor's already made it. And now, like, you can say Shedor made it as a college quarterback, sure. But Shedor's not a college quarterback anymore. And this is the one place I've said one of the reasons that I genuinely do appreciate the NFL, even if it is sometimes to the detriment of the league. I genuinely believe that professional sports, at least for those who play it, professional sports is like the last true meritocracy, right? Like the name on the back of your jersey really doesn't mean a damn thing as far as making it into and staying in the league. We have seen players who have great careers start to fall off at the end and just get thrown aside. Because if you're not helping us win actively today, it does not matter who you are.
Yeah, but it's like that in any career.
No, it's not.
Sure it is.
No, it's not.
It absolutely is.
The emperor of idealism is very much appreciated normally. No, it's not. Out here in the real world,
You
that's not how it
haven't,
is.
you haven't seen radio people drop off and then they're gone.
Yes, no, I absolutely have. I also know that the phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know, is 1,000% correct. I'm not in this building, this chair right now, despite the fact that, and I believe I can say this, I know as much about as many sports as anybody you're going to get to, and I will bust my ass. I don't get in this chair if I didn't know Mark Ryan personally.
Well, I worked my butt off to get where I'm at.
Sure.
You know what? I don't have any problem with you getting here because you knew someone.
No.
There are some people who do have a problem with that.
Not what you know, who you know.
But I, if a connection helps you get something, awesome. But you still have to prove yourself once you get there.
I will even disagree with that in certain spots, is where the boss's son's jokes come from over the years. But the point to me here is Shedor ain't proved a damn thing in the NFL yet. Nothing at all. And I will tell you that even if Shedor Sanders in the lead up to the draft was an absolute punk. Like, let's say the reports are true and worse than that he was just a certified punk in the lead up to the draft. If a team looked at him and said, certified punk, but he's a guaranteed rookie of the year, he's a guaranteed QB1 on opening day, somebody takes him in the first round.
Yeah, there are no guaranteed rookies of the year.
I don't disagree. I'm saying hypothetically, if you looked at Shedor and went, this dude is the best quarterback to come out of college football in 100 years, then somebody would have drafted the guy even if he was a punk.
All right, how is Shedor Sanders successful in the NFL? What does he have to do? What is success for him? Where people will look and just leave it alone. Does he have to secure himself as a starter of the Cleveland Browns?
I mean, let's
Does
start
he have
with
to
this.
lead them to a winning season? Because they're going to find something no matter what.
Let's start with this. If you can't beat out 42-year-old Joe Flacco, another rookie Dylan Gabriel, and Kenny Pickett, if you can't beat those guys out for the QB1 spot, then the hype was too much. Is that unfair? I don't think it's so. You may not agree with it, but it's not unfair.
I think he is put in a position where it's going to be very difficult for him to do that. But if he does that, then it may shut up some people. I don't think so.
How would he be put into a position where that's difficult?
because he was projected to go much higher, and he's put in a position where it looks like, we'll just draft him too. And he had, fair or unfair, he had a lot of eyes on him, scrutinizing every little thing that he does, and got a reputation. Whether it's fair or not, again, we don't know the sources, so I guess we have to go with it. You get in that, so he's put in a position to fail. So that's why I'm asking, because he is put in a position to fail, which a lot of late rounders are. Put in a position to, you're fighting to make the team. What does he have to do? What does Shedeur Sanders have to do to be considered successful in the eyes of the media, I guess?
I would start with, I don't agree with the proposition he's put in a position to fail. In fact, I feel quite the opposite. I think he's put in a position to succeed. I think if he goes out and he beats a beloved vet in Flacco, a guy trying to have a career resurgence in Pickett, and another rookie in Dylan Gabriel, he's effectively just beat all three archetypes of the quarterback.
By the way, that's if it is a fair competition.
Sure.
And we don't know, because we're not.
I don't disagree, but here's what I will say: there's no world, none, especially when you're in a position the Browns are in. There's no world where a head coach says, that guy gives me the best chance to win, but I'm going to sit him in the back seat because I don't want to play him.
Have you seen the Cleveland Browns before? Because you sound like you've never seen the Cleveland Browns before.
The team that traded for Deshaun Watson.
Right. All they do is...
If there was a definition
that's
of
the point.
that guy shouldn't be on the field because he sucks.
All they do is make bad decisions.
I understand.
So,
wait,
you're counting on them to make a good decision.
No. Okay, hang on. Getting Deshaun Watson was a bad decision. But it wasn't because Deshaun's a bad football player. It was because all the bull crap off to the side Deshaun got into that made him a bad person. And it made a franchise, whatever you want to call it.
All right, take all that stuff away. Well, I guess he would have played a little bit more. But chances are he gets hurt like he did. He's gotten hurt twice now, right?
Yep,
so
2 Achilles tears.
So if you put all that aside, it was a bad move bringing him in because he appears to be injury prone. And there's no way you can know that.
If Deshaun Watson was a standout, stellar human being, zero problem with the trade to get him. None. If he was a great guy, zero problem. Because the injuries happened after he got to Cleveland. He wasn't hurt in Houston. I mean, he was hurt and dinged up in Houston, but it wasn't like multiple Achilles tears. If Deshaun was
if I recall, I think he also got hurt at Clemson. Yeah.
Maybe so. But as far as the NFL version, if Deshaun Watson's a stellar dude, the trade to go get him out of Houston for Cleveland is a great move. Whether or not it pans out, it's a great move. Now, people would what a terrible move if he stank, but he didn't stink. Assuming he didn't stink in the hypothetical, if he was a stellar dude, it was a great move. The problem with Cleveland going to get Deshaun wasn't because it was a bad move personnel on the field-wise. It was because of all the baggage that came along with Deshaun. And yet, even with all that baggage, Deshaun Watson showed up and was QB1 on the day he got there, right? So the Browns have, just via their last starting quarterback, the Browns have already shown you that they are not super concerned about the baggage or the image of a QB, because I promise you, no matter what you think of Shedeur,
or running an actual NFL franchise, they've shown us a lot of things.
I would argue that is a different set of topics from the one we're talking about.
Yeah,
the one we're talking
one
about,
factor, it factors into treatment. If you have a history of not being good at a lot of things and you bring someone in, he's put it. Any other team, I would think he would have a fair shot.
Wait, time out.
Cleveland,
Hang on.
I don't.
No. You're missing my point here. The point here is, I think he's going to get a more fair shot with Cleveland than he would anywhere else. Because Cleveland has shown that they don't give a damn about baggage with a quarterback. If they think you're the best quarterback, they're going to play you. They don't care if you got 11 lawsuits for sexual assault going on. So I think the baggage coming with Shedeur is way less harmful to the franchise than the baggage with Deshaun.
I get all that, but I'm just not sure that they know what a good quarterback is. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, maybe not, but at the same time, I don't think, again, that there is a coach out there that's going to look at a room of quarterbacks and say, A, we're going to pick the crappier quarterback, or B, we're going to go get the quarterback. We're going to play the quarterback who we don't think is the best because we're the Browns. Like, that's not a reality. We can argue all day. No, we can agree all day that the Browns are a trash-run franchise. I agree with that. But I will say over the past couple of years that while going and getting quarterbacks hasn't worked well, ordinarily they're willing to go with the best quarterback. That's why they played Joe Flacco for as long as they did. He was the best quarterback on the roster at the
Baker
time.
Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield.
They were winning with Baker Mayfield.
I don't disagree. And they let their egos get the best of them, much as they accuse Baker of allowing to happen. The point to all of this is Shedeur Sanders can at least silence this in the offseason by winning the starting quarterback job. Prove that you are better than aged veteran, you are better than another rookie, and you are better than borderline guy trying to have a career renaissance. If you beat out all three archetypes of the quarterback in one competition, then a lot of the doubt goes away until we get to the regular season, if not. But I'll say this, Dion, you're not helping Shedeur at all, my guy. You're not helping him at all. In fact, we have not mentioned Shedeur Sanders in 4 weeks. And now we have to do it again, and it ain't in a positive light. If you just said nothing, let us get to camp and let Shedeur go earn the QB1 spot, the next time we talk about Shedeur is, hey, he beat out Kenny Pickett. That's pretty good. That's a good start for a rook. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Be right back, guys.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. 844-326-3663 is the number. Buddy. The conversation that we have been having over the last week and a half or so, generated, of course, by the SEC spring meetings last week in Destin, Florida, where Commissioner Greg Sankey said that the coaches of the Southeastern Conference are all largely on board and together with a 5+11 model. That is the 5 highest rated conference champions plus 11 at-large teams. For the record, I'm also on board with that. I would like to see that be the way that it plays out. The conversation that we have not had, however, and largely it's because we know where they stand already, or at least one half of them. The conversation is, where are the ACC and the Big 12 in all this? Where are the next two most powerful conferences? You've got the SEC, the Big 10 on Tier A, the ACC, Big 12 on Tier B, everybody else in Tier C. I'd say Notre Dame in Tier B as well. The conversation...
They wouldn't say that, though.
No, they would not. They would tell you that they are A, the SEC and Big 10 are B, and everybody else should not exist. So, where do we go from here? There was a interesting take, I thought, from Joel Klatt, where he was talking about the best models for everybody else, the best models for those conferences. On his show, Joel Klatt set up with the 5+11 model conversation how he thinks a better 16-team field for the sake of the ACC and the Big 12 might work. Klatt broke down a model of the CFP that he said he likes and he thinks would be the best for those conferences. And it is one that involves the best 2.5 seeds each meant for the ACC and the Big 12. Basically set it up this way. He set up a system where the SEC and the Big 10 would get 4 spots. There would be 2 at-large spots with another for the mid-major representative. And for the remaining 5 spots, the ACC and Big 10 would split them, and Big 12 would split them in some respect. And basically what he said was that you would have those spots dependent on the resumes or the on-field results between the two leagues and how they play, who they play, when they play. Klatt said, quote, if they wanted to argue for anything, if they wanted to earn it on the field, they should be arguing for the 2 model and maybe even a 2.5 model. Now, what would that look like? That would be wild. Let me kind of discuss a 2.5 model for the Big 12 and ACC. If you wanted to earn it on the field, if you want to take it out of the boardroom and you want the 16-team playoff, then let's go 4-4, 2.5 for the ACC and Big 12, and then 1 for the group of 5, and then 2 at-large spots for Notre Dame and a second at-large team. How do you do 2.5? That sounds crazy. Well, you actually do it quite easily by pitting, let's just say, the 4th or 5th place team in each of the ACC and the Big 12 against each other. Maybe your play-in weekend is just going against each other, and you're going to have 5 spots total, and 3 of them are going to the ACC and 2 to the Big 12, or in a given year, depending on how those matchups go on the field. You would get 3 or 2. So you would have 2.5 spots. So basically you're saying, hey, between the ACC and the Big 12, we're going to split 5 at-large spots. So that's how you get to 2.5. In that case, you would be guaranteeing yourself at minimum 2 spots every year and the potential for a 3rd versus arguing for a model that you would only in most years get 1. End quote. Start with, because I feel like I have to sometimes, because I'm just a nice guy. I don't agree with Joel Klatt's proposition for a number of different reasons here. I would start with this. Once again, why the model that just gives half the field to 2 conferences?
America.
We've hit that a lot of times. I've leaned on that a lot of times. Why a model where half of the field just goes to 2 conferences and everybody else fights for the other half of the field?
America.
Now, I acknowledge and argue that more than likely, The SEC and Big Ten will probably earn half of the spots anyway. However, do you know what the difference is? They will earn half of the spots, not just be given half of the spots. There is a difference. So I don't know why would I get on board with that? Why would I get on board from the foundation of Klatt's take here? Why would I just get on board with with two conferences just being given half the spots instead of earning them? Now, Klatt goes on to say in that last couple of sentences there, in that case, you would be guaranteeing yourself at a minimum 2 spots every year and get the potential for a third versus arguing for a model that you would only in most years get 1. Why is that? Why is that? Because if it's an 11 at-large team field, I think the ACC would have had 2 last year. I think Clemson and SMU both would have gone. I think it's very possible the Big 12 would have had 2 last year.
Nope.
I think more often than not, those 2 conferences would get 2. I think more often than not, if there are 11 available spots, that those 2 conferences would get 2. And then I think occasionally, potentially,
Maybe
pop a
back
third.
in like 1995, but no.
I understand. But I am also going to say we do not make a permanent forever model, in my opinion. We should not make a permanent forever model based on what's happened in the last 2, 3, 4 years. I think your permanent forever model should look at either A, the entirety of history of modern college football,
Nope.
or B, none of it at all. It shouldn't be, well, in the last 2 or 3 years, it's been this way, so let's base our permanent playoff model on the last couple of years. No.
New territory. The structure has changed as far as, how many teams are in different places and all that kind of stuff. And when things change, you have to do things differently.
So 2 things. Number 1, the first thing is, and you have used this where teams are and how many teams are where argument. I don't care. I don't care. It does not matter if a conference has 2 teams or 29.
Why does your feelings have anything to do with it?
Because your argument's bad. Mm-hmm. Well, this conference has more teams, so they should
your
get no
opinion.
spots.
That's your opinion.
No, it's not.
It is. Well, it is your opinion.
No, it is my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, it is.
The argument that more teams in conference means that conference should just get more spots, I disagree entirely. Why? There's no justifiable reason for that. It's just that's how you feel.
Don't states with more population get more representation?
Yes and no. They do in the House, they don't in the Senate. What do? We came up with a system that says, yeah, we know Rhode Island is small, but that doesn't mean that they don't get a powerful voice in the direction of the country. But also, we got this other lower house where they do get more because they have more people. And also, I'm going to go ahead and say maybe part of the reason that whole system got set up with the fundamental population of the country at the time, maybe we don't want to really root our reasoning in their reasoning. You feel me, dog? We'll come back to that later. No, we won't. What am I talking about?
What?
So, I would argue against that in the first place. Second off, I would say, once again, I think everybody should start, regardless of the conference they're in, the city they're in, the state they're in. Everyone should start at the beginning of the year with the same opportunity to get in. 5 teams will have the opportunity to win their conference again at auto bid. Everybody else will have 11 seeds available for them at large. And everyone should have the same access to those 11 seeds.
So you believe with all your heart that the ADs and the people who are actually running things are going to go with the one that you don't want, even though the coaches have come out and said it's the 5 and the 11.
Yes.
And it's so you just
Yes.
I think you want them to choose the other thing. If they
The other thing being my thing?
no. They're already saying they're going to choose that, but you don't believe that the ADs and stuff will do that. The coaches and those guys, you said many times, the coaches are saying that that's what they want.
Yeah. Tell me how much the coaches get to vote on this. 0. None. 0. Lonzo, you and me and Fat Boy and everybody down there could all go together and go to the boss and say, we think that every Friday should be free pizza day here at the radio. And it could be everybody in this building. But there ain't but 2 guys at the top that get to decide if that happens or not. Right? And they get the vote.
I disagree.
We could all be on board with free pizza day.
If the Rise guys say it should be, it would be. So
I mean, maybe so.
I mean, you know.
But the point is, they might still say yes to free pizza day. Boss, if you're listening, I'm in favor of free pizza day.
Yeah, I'm on board with that too.
They might all be, everybody in this building may be involved on board with free pizza day. But there ain't.
We can speak on behalf of everyone upstairs and say that's a thing that should happen.
Everybody's on board with free pizza day. But at the end of the day, there's only one or two people who get a vote as to whether or not free pizza day happens. And if free pizza day required them to dig into their own wallet to provide it, they're going to vote no.
So here's the thing, though. So you're making it sound like that the ADs and presidents would not listen to their coaches. That's what you're making it sound like.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Again, negative outlook, positive outlook. I believe that with all these coaches saying that's what they want, that's what they're going to get.
Realistic input, super duper happy, everything's amazing out in the real world input.
So you're saying nothing positive ever happens?
No. But what I'm saying is when there are tens of millions of dollars on the line, the people that have the most vested interest in tens of millions of dollars, they don't really look at it and go, well, our employees like this. Look at gestures broadly at every corporate franchise ever.
So when they adopt this thing that you don't think they're going to adopt, but they will, the thing that the coaches want, when they adopt this thing, the 5 and 11, are you going to say you were wrong?
No, I mean, yes, absolutely, and happily.
he just automatically say no to anything I ask.
For the record, I haven't officially said this is what they're going to do. It's just what I believe they're going to do.
It sure does.
But
what's the difference?
But
this is what I believe. But so what you believe and what you officially say are two different things.
Yeah. There's a difference
okay.
between saying I think this is going to happen and this is what's going to happen.
No, think and believe are two different things.
Correct. I think that they will go with the model that best serves those that have the gold. The people in charge don't ordinarily do things that takes money out of their own pocket. That's just a rule of thumb. That's not to say there aren't exceptions to that rule.
It won't, though, because as I've said a couple times, probably more than that, it's going to end up with the same result. The best teams are going to be ranked, and those guys are going to make it in, and they're going to be in the Big Ten, and they're going to be in the SEC.
As there is a difference between think will happen and believe will happen, there is also a difference between earning something and being given something.
Just look at history. Just go back.
You are
go back the last 10 years.
Obfuscating the point.
Ooh.
There is a
Here's
difference
what he brings in the big words because of course,
between
I don't understand.
earning a thing and being given a thing. There are different things.
You understand the majority of the audience is on my level of education, so I mean, you're
then listen to me and I'll learn you something.
What?
All right?
Listen to me and I'll daggone learn you, boy.
There is a difference between earning and being given. If you earn something, you have put the performance down that you go, I am worthy of this prize.
Don't put my performance down.
And if you are given a thing, you have not done that. This is the argument I have, for instance, with more professional athletes getting into the broadcasting sphere. They are just given a microphone because they played football. They are given a mic as if that just makes you qualify to be a broadcaster versus somebody like me who's got 17 years of skin in the game.
Some of them are pretty good. Pat McAfee.
I'm not saying none of them are.
I'm just saying.
But
you're
wait a minute.
implying,
Wait, time out. I'll even go one step further. I believe McAfee earned what he's being given.
Of course
he
he
launched his own thing. He invested in himself. He learned
But
how
he's
to be a
given the
broadcaster.
opportunity that he was given with Barstool because of who he was,
Right.
because he played in the league.
No. He started his thing and then got picked up. He built that and then got picked up.
Pretty sure he went to
What I am
Barstool first,
talking,
and then he did his thing.
What I am talking about is a guy like, I won't name him because I don't want to get in trouble.
Ooh.
But I've been on the network for 4 years now.
Oh, here we go. Don't do that.
And during last football season, they said, hey, we're going to do an NFL show. And I said, I'd like to do that. And they said, okay, we'll consider you for that. And then they circled back around and said, oh, sorry, this guy just retired from the NFL and he's going to be our guy. 17 years, 4 years in the network. I wanted that gig. I didn't get it. Now, am I mad at that guy? Absolutely not. Take that job. Hell yeah. Am I mad at them? Absolutely not. Rob Brown's a freaking jabroni-ass nobody, and you've got a Super Bowl winning NFL player to come talk NFL. Of course you hire that guy.
Nailed it down a little bit there by saying that. Just
But he was given a mic And I have over 17 years earned a
So
mic.
let's say
Difference.
I don't know who you're talking about. Are they any good?
Yeah, they were a very good player.
No, I meant on the mic.
They're okay, in my opinion. Respectfully, they're okay. They have a great supporting cast that makes them better, which is part of what this industry is. The point of all of this is, lovingly and respectfully, because again, I'd have made the same decision if I was them. The point of all this is earned versus given. If I am the SEC, if I am the Big Ten, I want to be given because I've been given the whole time. If I'm the ACC and the Big 12, I just want a shot to earn it. I want a shot to earn it. We'll bring this up back later on in the show. Stick around. The Rob Brown Show starts up again after Alonzo Sports Flash.
Continue. I don't know if we start up again. So that's act like this is a different
stopping
thing.
for
Novak Djokovic won his 100th career French Open, second behind only Rafael Nadal with 6-2, 6-3, 6-2 win over a Cam Norrie. With the win, Djokovic makes his way into the quarterfinals at Roland Garros and has yet to give up a set in a tournament. That's pretty good. The Women's College World Series is set, and for the first time in a long time, it will not feature Oklahoma. The Sooners were taken down by the Red Raiders of Texas Tech 3-2 in the semifinals. Waiting for the Texas Tech are their in-state rivals, Texas, who knocked off Tennessee 2-0. The finals start Wednesday. 2026 College Football Hall of Fame finalists have been announced, including on the ballot are Heisman Trophy winner Mark Ingram from Alabama, Cam Newton of Auburn, and Robert Griffin III of Baylor. AP National Player of the Year Ndamukong Suh is also on the ballot, joined by Eric Bieniemy, Des Bryant, Kijana Carter, and others. That's all cool, Keegan, but who are you specifically talking to? Are you talking about the person who won't take a breath for 15 minutes straight? And the only way you can have a conversation is to interrupt? Or are you talking about me? I don't know. And I don't care if the moles tell him. We all know that dude can talk forever. That's the reason why he's got this job. Stuff happened in the WWE last night. I only watched part of it because I go to bed at a decent time. It's usually kind of what happens anyway, Kane. And now there are more chances for a lot more people, our teams. Look, How to Train Your Dragon Lego sets.
I haven't seen the movie yet, but I don't kind of want to. I want to.
I know.
I
That's,
really enjoyed the.
That's why I mentioned it, because you said that you want to go see the live action. Wonder how much those Lego sets cost. Starting at $155. I'm joking. I didn't look it up. Did you pick up a Ron Cena T-shirt before they went away?
Did they go away?
Well, according to some people, I haven't looked at the WWE shop to see if they're still there. Other people have already been looking for that. Let's see, you can get them on the eBay and at TeePublic, whatever that is, but it doesn't. There's also a link to it. It still says they're still on WWE shop. They still have all his merch on there. Just because his contract ended doesn't mean he was terminated. It doesn't pick up his contract. It sucks, but still.
I mean, it's dumb. However,
And it
you
could
wanna
just be
define
a
it.
work. I'm just saying, you know.
Hello, boys.
Here we go. Hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show back on the radio. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. 844-326-3663. 844-FAN-FONE is the number. Text line, call-in line, both of those, same number. 844-FAN-FONE.
Pal.
Texas said, Rob, why, we should have a trapezoid of excellence for college football. Also, why are people making things so complicated? The best teams that play the best football should have a spot at the football title. We can figure out which teams they are scientifically. No more freebies.
They do. There's never been a year where someone thought that the best team in all of football didn't make a playoff or didn't make. I mean, it always works out that way, especially in college football.
I mean, I wouldn't say that there's no years that people think a team worthy of a playoff spot didn't get one. What I would say is, again, to me, in an ideal world, because sports are supposed to be where all the things that we are upset about in real life stop for 3 hours on a Saturday or a Sunday or a Thursday or a Monday or sometimes a Wednesday or a Tuesday or whatever. For 3 hours, the world stops being a place full of inequality. Because on the field, for 60 minutes, two teams have the same opportunity to win a football game and represent me or somebody else or whatever. Now, of course, you do have to come into it ignoring that some college football programs are worth $1 billion and some are worth 2 sticks of gum. But the boys on the field, however they got there, wherever they came from, have the same opportunity to win the football game. Those two teams in that moment. So, again, not to belabor the point from the last topic, but I just don't understand a world outside of money. Outside of money, I do not understand a world in which you would willingly say 2 conferences get half the field, everybody else can fight for the other half. And it just doesn't compute to me. Actually, it's not even true. It's not even the rest gets to compete for the other half, because half of the remaining half is guaranteed to 2 other teams or 2 other conferences, and then there are basically 4 spots left.
You're doing Steiner math. Half of the half is.
It's Steiner math is a core foundation of buddyism, my economic philosophy to college football. So yes, it is simply a matter of I want to see the best 16 teams in college football compete for a natty. That's it. That's all it comes down to. And I think when you start doing automatic qualifiers and auto bids and seedings and blah, 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 I think everything that you add is one step further away from the best 16 teams. It's just one step further away. Like I would even make the argument that the concept of the 5 highest rated conference champions is a step away from the best 16 teams. Why? Because we may have a 12-0 team that loses to a 9-3 dark horse that sneaks back door into a conference championship and pulls an upset. And that 12-0 team is clearly a better team that just had a bad day. This is also why I prefer championships that are played in series, not in one-off games. Now, you can't do that with football. I understand it. But the reason I love and believe that the college baseball postseason is the best postseason in sports is because regionals are spectacular. One team gets the benefit of hosting them because they outperformed everybody. But at the end of the day, if you go to a regional, you have to win out games. And if you drop 2, you're gone. And then we do it again in the Super. Best of 3. Which means if you send your ace out there and he just has his worst performance and you lose that game because your starting pitcher has been great all year, screws it up, you're not done. You can still bounce back and win with pitchers 2 and 3. You have a longer shot. Then we go to Omaha, same situation. Like, you got to win. You lose twice, you're done. You can have a bad day. It's going to make it tougher for you. But series championships to me are just better. Texter said, let's see here. Rob, 134-team playoff. Lonzo feels it. Rob, you will come around. Texter, I say this with great respect. You have been texting about this concept of a 134-team playoff for a long time. I need to know how you set that up. Because is it everybody starts and if you lose in week 1, you just don't play football that year? Or do we say once you lose a game, you go over and you just go play a bunch of meaningless exhibition games and we work it down? That's not a thing, Texas. Respectfully, that's not a thing. For the same reason that I get to a point where I'm looking at Charlie Baker, as he said last week, that he is looking to moving to a 72 or 76 team March Madness. And at some point, we're watering down the product here. I honestly believe there is too big of a field for a college football playoff. I think 16 is probably the biggest I'm willing to accept. And even at 16, I don't expect we are going to see too many 14, 15, 16 seeds knocking off too many 3, 2, and 1 seeds. I don't think it's going to happen. I think you're more likely to see 7 upsets 5 or 7 upsets 4, whatever numbers. I don't know. You get it, though. At some point, you water down the product. And I think 16 is the right number, but I want them to be the best 16 teams. Texas said, Rob, the Browns traded for Deshaun and paid him when he was going through the bull crap. That was a terrible move. Yeah. So we were talking about Shedeur and Dion in the last hour. And I pointed out that I think Shedeur landing in Cleveland, despite the fact that they got a fully loaded QB room, was honestly probably the best possible landing spot for Shedeur Sanders. And my reasoning behind that was very simple. I think the Cleveland Browns, number one, have brought in QB competition for Shedeur Sanders, or I guess maybe brought in Shedeur Sanders to be the QB competition, but brought in QB competition for Shedeur Sanders, and they brought in the 3 archetypes of the NFL quarterback. Seasoned, successful veteran who's clearly way past his prime, but is still got some spin in him. Rookie quarterback trying to prove that he's the right pick, Dillon Gabriel. And vet who maybe hasn't had a ton of success, but you're willing to go, maybe it was the other franchise. Maybe it was their franchise. Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe he goes to a new place, new digs, new scenery, new surroundings, new talent, and he breaks out. Kenny Pickett. But the other thing is, the Cleveland Browns, more than any other team in the NFL, are the one team that has showed that they don't give a crap about the baggage that comes with you if you're good at football because of the Deshaun Watson story. Now, in fairness, the Cleveland Browns were not the only team trying to get Deshaun Watson up out of Houston. The Atlanta Falcons were in that mix. There were rumors that the Carolina Panthers were in that mix. There were rumors that my New Orleans Saints were in that mix. They weren't the only team. But it's kind of like they're the team that got caught. They're the team that got caught. They caught hold of the bag. They got caught with Deshaun Watson. And therefore, they are the team that is going to take the crap for it. But they have proven, whether other teams were willing to or not, they have proven that they don't care about the baggage that is attached to you. They don't care about the baggage that comes along with you. They very simply care, can you show up and help us play? They thought Deshaun Watson would. They were willing to not only overlook the 11 lawsuits lined up against him, but they were willing to give him $250 million, all guaranteed up front to do it. So if Dion is going to keep getting out there and keep talking and keep getting in front of a camera and keep saying things about Shedeur, at least Shedeur is in a place that clearly does not care about the baggage. Hey, man, if we believe you can help us win at QB1, if we believe you're the dude at QB1 that can get her done, you're QB1. That's just what there is to it. And like I said, I think this is the best possible landing spot for Shedeur because of that. Now, I'm also going to say, on behalf of Shedeur, Dion, shut it down for a while, bud. Like, maybe just go talk about the Colorado Buffaloes, right? Shut it down for a minute. Because we, Sportslandia, have moved on. We've moved on past the Shedeur controversy.
All right, so you're on a podcast or you're being interviewed. They're talking to you about other stuff, and they bring that up. How does he handle that and it not look like that he's trying to not answer the question?
Ooh, let's role play. You be Asante Samuel. I'll be Deion Sanders.
Oh, I thought he was on Logan Paul's.
He was on his too, but the comments that brought this.
I'd rather be Logan Paul.
All right, fine. Be that loser. Go ahead.
I'm not a loser.
Deion, dude. Sup, dude? Come to the podcast, bro.
I'm a legitimate professional wrestler that makes people angry because I'm a legitimate professional wrestler taking people's spots.
They're not mad at him because he's a good heel. They're mad at him because he's a bleep person.
Okay, anyway. Some people don't.
Anyway, that's the point.
So, no, that's your point. And I'm doing the interviewing, not you. Dion, how are the Colorado Buffaloes looking this year? Yeah, you have to replace a lot of players, including one of the best two-way players of all time. How's that going to go?
Yeah, I mean, listen, anytime you have a guy like Travis Hunter and you know how important he was to us, how important it was to the team, how tremendous of a football player he was, anytime you have a two-way player like that step away from the program, you're not just going to find the next guy. So now we got to look inside that locker room and say, who are the guys that can fill that role? Who are the guys that can step up and take over different responsibilities Travis had, so that instead of saying, oh, this is the one guy that's going to carry us in spots, we can say, here are the guys that are the leaders of this franchise. But we're like any other college football program. We've got the transfer portal. You know, I love me a portal. I'm working some guys in. I've got some guys out. We think we've got some real good pieces. We made some coaching changes we're really happy about. I think people are going to be excited about the Colorado Buffaloes in 2025.
All right, some of your players were projected to go really high in the NFL draft, and one in particular, a former quarterback, took a nosedive thanks to bad publicity. How is he handling that, and have you had any words of advice to him going forward?
Yeah, no, look, I know that people want me to say stuff about him so that they can turn it into clips. And I get that. That's part of the job. That's part of the responsibilities. That's part of what comes along with being not just the head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes, but being Dion and being Shedeur's dad. And so I get it. But here's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to say anything. Shedeur Sanders has been drafted. Shedeur Sanders is in the National Football League. Shedeur Sanders is on a football team that's looking for a quarterback. And Shedeur Sanders now has the opportunity to go out there and earn his keep. And at the end of the day, that's all we want. We wanted the opportunity for my boy to go out there to earn his keep, and now he's got that shot. So as far as I'm concerned...
Well, let me interrupt you here. You say we a lot. Why are you saying we so much? Isn't he the one who's playing?
He is.
Why are you saying we?
He is, because he's my boy. He's my son. He's my kid. He's my guy. Like, I think like any father wants success for their kid, and any father is willing to go as far as they can go to give their kid the best shot. So, and we have been... Let's not pretend. Stop, Logan. You're very rude repeatedly.
Well, I just want to say, I know we're here talking about Colorado, but you are prime, and so we got to talk about is the reason why. Do you believe the reason why such scrutiny is put on your son because of you and how some people don't like you?
I mean, look, maybe so, maybe not. It doesn't matter. He's on an NFL roster. He's in training camp. He's gone through rookie minicamp. Is going through OTAs right now, and at the end of them, either Shedeur Sanders will be starting for the Cleveland Browns, will be a reserve, a backup for the Cleveland Browns, or he won't be on the Cleveland Browns. And it's up to Shedeur to go out there and earn all of this. It's up to him to step into that locker room and either become the player that we think he can become or not, and we'll find out what he does. but there is no benefit gained for me as either his college coach or his dad. There is no benefit in me talking about those reports. It's over. It's done. It's in the past. He's on a team. He's got an opportunity to prove the doubters wrong, and whatever I can do to help him do that, I'm going to.
Well, I will say, and this is just me saying this, that neither one of us are nearly as cool as the two people that were role playing. And you probably don't agree with that. And
No, I'm very cooler than Logan Paul.
We made it sound Logan probably asked better questions than me. So, I mean, what do I know about interviewing?
All of that being said, do you see how I got through that?
I saw.
And I gave you no clickbait?
I saw that you said we. And that was one of your big problems in the first hour or second hour, whenever we were talking about it. And you said we. That's why I questioned you about the we.
No, that was not my problem. My problem was.
He's pointing, by the way, for those
this
of
is
you
a
who can't
generic
see it.
point. This is like a. This is a Bill Clinton point.
Oh no!
This is a non-specific, nondescript point.
My heart felt a couple of those.
And for the record, I'm pointing up, not at you.
All I hear is pew pew
So,
pew.
My problem with the we was not that Dion referred to him and Shedeur as we. I don't have an issue with that. My problem was him saying, we have made it. We have accomplished. We have achieved. Shedeur, as an NFL quarterback, which is what he is now, has not accomplished a damn thing. He's accomplished nothing.
Well, he
is an NFL quarterback.
He did make it onto it. He accomplished a lot as a college player, and he did make it to an NFL team.
Right.
So that's an accomplishment in itself.
As an NFL player, he has not accomplished a damn thing yet.
Okay.
He has done nothing.
You're right.
Making it to the roster.
As a dad or the coach of a player, he should never defend his son. He should just deflect. Well, you got to talk to Shedeur about that. That's not how parenthood works. That's not how a proud coach works. You're going to defend your former player. You're going to defend your son against these attacks, whether they're real or not real. You're going to defend him. That's how you're going to do. He's not doing anything other than what a normal dad or former coach does. If you go talk to former coaches of players who are under fire for some weird reason, you go talk to them, they're going to support the player. I don't see the outrage. I don't see why there's outrage unless you just don't like either one of them.
No, see, you're not. What I'm not going to let you do is say, oh, if you have a bad thing to say, you don't like him. That's obviously not true. Deion Sanders is one of 3 autographs hanging in the wall in there. I clearly do not dislike Deion Sanders. What I am saying is,
I'm trying to get Logan Paul hate over here.
You're making his pursuit of his goal, objective, whatever, to be QB1. You're making it harder. You are making it where reports that matter
You're not, though,
for
because you yourself have pointed out how Cleveland doesn't care about all that stuff. So he's not making it any harder for him. He may be making it harder in the court of public opinion, which Cleveland, as you pointed out, doesn't care about.
You had these reports that mattered for a week 2 months ago, and they have gone away. Nobody cares about them. And now here we are in June, and you have brought them back to the forefront. Why? Why did you feel the need to bring it back to the forefront? You could have just glanced over the question and gone, nah, I ain't worried about it. That was 2 months ago. We don't care anymore. This is like when a politician gets on stage and reminds everybody of the scandal from 10 years ago. And we go, oh, that's right. You are a piece of crap. I forgot about that. I forgot that you're a bad guy. Right? Same thing. Except Deion's not a bad guy. He's just bringing the weight and attention of the NFL world down on his kid unnecessarily. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
I'm going to storm out of the room in anger and go to the restaurant. I'm not storming. This ain't storming.
That's not a storm at all.
That's not storming.
You know what? I'm also going to use the restroom, guys. Y'all stay right there. Former Miami. Wow, that was a terribly timed hiccup. I am falling apart today. My back is killing me. My right shoulder feels like I threw a 9-inning complete game last night, and now I have the hiccups. Like, come on, man. I'm a stub toe away from just calling it a day.
This is like a baseball player. Wow.
All right, you're done.
Which
You're
baseball player was that?
unnecessary.
Because
Turf toe is a real thing. It's
no,
very
it was a
dangerous.
stub toe. It wasn't turf toe. There's there's a difference between turf toe and stub
You
toe.
can't push
Turf-
off into a throw with a stub toe.
No, turf toe I get, man. That's nasty. But a stub toe, we all stub toes. I've like break toes all the time. So I mean,
Yeah, but we sit down for our jobs
we also stand up.
repeatedly, mostly. Dave Sampson is a former president of the Miami Marlins. He is a longtime sports executive, and now, like everyone else in America, he has a podcast. Dave Sampson, I'm going to keep it a buck. I heard this clip, and I'm like,
By the way, real quick, we love podcasts. You can hear our podcast on the Odyssey app. You should check that out.
oh, for sure.
You
I'm not
download it free.
anti-podcast.
Yeah.
I'm big on Dale Jr.'s podcast right now. I'm enjoying it greatly. So Dave Sampson's pod, which I have to say, I really only know from his social media clips, but I like a lot of what he's talking about. Went off on not Cooper Flagg, but the fact that we found out about a week ago that Cooper Flagg was apparently making about $28 million in NIL money during his time at Duke.
Good for him.
I ain't mad at it.
Way to go, dude.
So he dropped a little segment, and I'm trying to figure out, like, what exactly Dave's getting at here. So what he's driving at here.
So he's not saying he wasn't smart enough to go to Duke?
No, what
Or
he was
was he-
talking about is the
okay.
fact that college basketball players got to go to college.
You know,
right?
you know what I got all out of all that is why leave Duke? You did all that in 1 year. I mean, stay for 4.
Why?
He's probably going. How much money will he make in his rookie contract in the NBA?
Irrelevant. His NIL money in a contract, his NIL money is endorsements. So take that and then put an NBA contract on.
I get what you're saying, but I'm just going from a business standpoint. But the NIL, he's getting paid NIL stuff for being at Duke. So if he's no longer at Duke, he wouldn't get paid that, supposedly.
No, he's going to take that New Balance money straight to the NFL.
Well, the shoe,
or NBA.
the shoe stuff, yeah, I get that. But maybe the car dealership, whatever it is, unless it's a local car dealership. I don't understand the complaints about he made that much money in college. What? So
here's
it's America. You can do that now.
Here is
Good for
what
them.
Dave Sampson is talking about here. What Dave Sampson is talking about here is the obligation of Cooper Flagg to go to college for a year, to be a one and done. Because he's basically saying, while there is a very short list of, say, basketball players that this would apply to, a very short list of, say, football players that this would apply to. What he's saying, I think, here is the fact that it is mandated that these guys go play a year of college basketball before they're allowed into the NBA. Because again, I don't think there's going to be any, frankly, high school players that go straight to the NFL. But this is an NBA story.
Was this guy LeBron? Was this guy Kobe? Was this guy one? I mean, talking
Cooper
about
Flagg would have been drafted straight out of high school.
Would he really?
Yes.
Because I hadn't heard of him until
he showed
Duke.
up at Duke.
Yeah.
Cooper Flagg would have been drafted straight out of high school. Cooper Flagg was the dude that going into his year at Duke everybody in America was trying to recruit this kid. And again, I don't think there are many Cooper Flags. I think they're like, at most, there might be 1 or 2 per year that are ready to go to the NBA straight out of high school. But the point here that I think Dave Sampson is making is the only reason that the one and dones exist, and I'm only saying this because I think it further drives home a point that I make all the time. The only reason that one and dones exist is because how much more compelling is Duke with Cooper Flag, and how much more compelling is the March Madness tournament, the biggest moneymaker for basketball, with Duke with Cooper Flag? The answer is very. Like, we followed Duke through the tournament. Quick, take-home pop quiz edition of the Rob Brown Show. Name me another Duke player from this year. It's just he's a compelling player. He's a compelling player. He's got a compelling history to him. He's obviously a phenomenal player. And so college basketball, just by having Cooper Flag involved, inherently makes more money. The whole premise of one and done was never about, oh, let's make sure that these kids have 1 year of college to ensure that they're developed and ready for the NFL or for the NBA. You think a kid's showing up at Duke, playing 1 year of college basketball, and like that's life-changing for him getting ready for the NBA? As a kid that is 1 year older than a high school graduate? Probably not, right? Probably not. I think what you're looking at here is, and I think what Dave Sampson is driving at here, is just that reality that, as we say all the time, the decisions are always driven by the almighty dollar when it comes to college athletics. Part of the reason that I've said, even if the coaches all come out and say we like 5+11, I would not put it past the administrators, the athletic directors, the presidents, and the commissioners of the SEC and the Big Ten to say, yeah, like, it's great that our coaches are all on the same page, but that's not what we're doing because it would cost us money. We can't have that. The whole premise of the one and done is inherently to make sure that a kid like Cooper Flag makes money for the college basketball ranks before he gets shipped up to the NBA to start making more. By the way, just so we're giving you all the deets, Cooper Flag's contract as a rookie is estimated to be a 4-year, $62.7 million deal. So split 62 4 ways. What are we looking at? 28-something million? I don't know. I'm bad at math, so all my jobs are words jobs. Let's say, no, not 28. See, I told you, I'm real bad. Whatever that number is. That many millions. But again, he had a $13 million deal with New Balance. He had a $15 million deal with Fanatics. There's your $28 million. That's coming with him. New Balance and Fanatics aren't going to drop the rookie who's going to have the most national games next year, the rookie who's going to be seen the most, heard from the most, et cetera, et cetera. So he's now going to take the entire $28 million that he made at Duke. And, oh, by the way, he's also got a $62.7 million 4-year deal to work with down there as well. The point is that dude went to college specifically and solely so that he could make money for college basketball. Am I upset about it? I mean, like, not as much as I am when you guys are anti-NIL. I mean, a little bit, because, again, I don't necessarily think I love a world where any particular person who has an opportunity to move into the highest echelon of the thing that they do, of the thing that they have trained for, the thing that they have committed themselves to, and are told, yeah, well, you have the opportunity to get to the highest echelon of what you do, but we're not going to allow it. Why? Because we said so. You're not my real mom. You don't get to just say because we said so. At least that's not how it's supposed to work in these great United States of America.
If the boss says because I said so, what do? I know what I do. I say yes, sir.
Correct. Unless he says, what if I went to the boss and he said, hey, Rob, you're not allowed to, well, I can't even come up with a metaphor off the fly. The point here is, if it sucks what my boss says, first off, he can't legally mandate that thing to happen. right? And he can't stop me from calling up other radio stations and getting another job at the highest echelon of what we do, right? He can't stop me from that. And if he can't stop me from that,
Well, he could if you had a no compete
Well-
in your contract. I mean,
most of the time non-competes are market specific.
are they? Okay, I
Yep,
don't
most of the
know.
time. I'm not saying that.
I've never been on a contract before, so I'll take your word for
Point
it.
here is because the metaphor can only be stretched so far. When it comes to joining the NBA, because of the antitrust rules and exemptions that the NBA has, they are the highest level and they are the only level. And so if there was an NBA team that said, yeah, we'd draft you out of high school and give you a 4-year, $62.7 million contract, but we're not allowed to. Now, I guess that's as much the NBA's decision, and it's kind of on them to some degree. But the point that I'm making here is decisions have been, always will be made based on the dollar bills and where they move, not on the best interest of anybody. Not players, not coaches, not fans. That's just a reality. The Rob Brown Show continues after this, the Fan Upstate.
I apologize to everyone out there. I played the same bed twice in the same show, and I'm so ashamed. I can't say that I'm going to do better in the future because I'm probably on the decline. It's probably going to get worse. So, or I could say that I played it because I said so. Yeah. I said I wanted to. Yeah. Zach Gallen.
Mm-hmm.
You mean the wrestler?
Mm-mm.
The guy with one leg? Isn't that his name? I think he's been in TNA. Not TNA, but AEW wrestling Ricochet.
I haven't watched AEW in weeks.
I've seen clips. I've watched some of it. I do agree with some people, I forget, might have been busted open, saying that AEW wasted an opportunity to lead in after the final NBA show, and they went with Claudio versus Commander instead of a big-name wrestling match, which they should have done with that kind of lead-in. I mean, if you have the show booked already, but, at the same time. Pull Vince McMahon, move something around.
Pull a VKM. Do it this way, damn it.
There's some, older people down the hall who might have some ointment. I mean, if you went and asked them.
Ointment.
Yes. Have an alien bag.
Maybe old enough
You're
that I
old.
need
I'm sure you have
ointment.
something in your bag.
Actually, you know what I do have? I do have a leave in the office.
You can't do drugs. What are you doing? The risk of being political, James, and I know you're like on his side, but they could have paid a tenured professor to indoctrinate the youth into something. I don't know. Worship of cabbage. I don't know why that popped into my head, but because I'm weird, I guess. And are there people out there who actually worship cabbage? There probably are. Cabbage worshiping. Do you think that exists? I mean, if it popped in my head, they say there are no new ideas. So that means, somewhere out there, someone worships a cabbage. Maybe multiple people. I don't know. They worship it for its cleansing properties because it makes you regular, which, circle of life, in, out.
Had some religious experiences because of that.
That goes against your nature. You can't say that. You sabotaged me today. I'm just going to do the 3 smallest stories at the end. But I can't because that's when he's listening. You know I'm supposed to have 3 in there, and it's like putting. I do think you did it on purpose. Now, why quit now? Because I've got them in there. It's up to the challenge. I'm going to bow down on the 3rd attempt. It wasn't an attempt. I was successful the first 2. They weren't attempts. They were accomplishments.
We will be talking quite a bit of hockey over the next couple of weeks as the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs will be played out starting tomorrow. If it goes to Game 7, it will end on June 20th.
Yeah, I have a question since apparently I've been interrupting the entire show, but that's just what I do. If you had the opportunity right now to go to one of these finals, which one are you going to?
Stanley Cup.
So you're going to Stanley Cup
Yep.
above the NBA Finals.
Yep. And I love basketball.
I was going to say, would that differ if if the Pelicans were there?
Well, yeah,
That was hard to say.
Obviously, because that's the closest to a psychologically induced hallucination as I'd ever experienced. So, no, I would go to the Stanley Cup playoffs over the NBA Finals. Now, that's not to diminish these NBA Finals. I'm actually really excited about them. I just think that if I was power ranking postseasons, college baseball is number 1, NHL Stanley Cup playoffs is number 2, just in terms of pure electricity. This is there's a couple of things that are interesting notes about this Stanley Cup that we should pay attention to. Number 1, this is the 12th Stanley Cup Finals rematch in NHL history. It is the 5th in the expansion era, which dates back to the 1967-68 season. It is the first rematch since 2008, 2009. The last 2 times that it happened, Pittsburgh and Detroit in 08 and 09, Edmonton and the Islanders in 83 and 84. In those series, Wayne Gretzky won his first cup. Sidney Crosby won his first cup. Of course, Connor McDavid is playing for the Edmonton Oilers. He has not won a Stanley Cup yet and is considered one of the best players in the game that is on first cup watch. We'll see if that plays out. The Panthers, after the conclusion of the Eastern Conference Finals, they have won it 3 times. This is their 3rd time. They did so in 1996 and 2023. Florida did not touch that trophy. Last year, they won the Stanley Cup. The previous 2 times when the team did touch it, they did not lose the Cup Finals. So will that history continue this year? The Oilers did pick up the Clarence S. Campbell Bowl for winning the West. They did not touch the trophy last year, nor in 2006. They lost both of those Stanley Cup games in Game 7. Hockey's a stupidly superstitious sport, too. It's a super superstitious sport. In last year's Cup final, the Panthers raced out to a 3-0 lead on an 11-4 aggregate, but then the Oilers outscored the Panthers in the next 3, 18-5. That brought us to Game 7, ended with a 2-1 Panthers win. The game-winning goal occurred at 15-11 of the second period. Sam Reinhart's 10th of the 2024 postseason. The Panthers also have won both of their 2024-25 regular season games against the Oilers. They won 6-5 at Florida on December 16th. They won 4-3 at Edmonton on February 27th. The series is also very interesting because it features the top 4 picks from the 2014 NHL draft. Aaron Ekblad went number 1 to Florida. Sam Reinhart went number 2 to Buffalo. Leon Draisaitl went number 3 to Edmonton. And Sam Bennett went 4th to Calgary. It is the second final in NHL history where each of the top 4 picks from the same NHL draft dressed in at least one game for either team, joining the 2024 final last year, which included the same 4 players. Individual team notes. The Oilers play in the Stanley Cup for the 9th time. It passes the Flyers for the most Stanley Cup Finals appearances amongst the non-original 6 franchises. It ranks 7th overall in the NHL. Edmonton is the 8th team in the NHL's expansion era to reach the Stanley Cup Final despite losing their first 2 games of their opening playoff series. Why is that interesting? Because the other 7 times that it has happened, All 7 of those teams went on to win the Stanley Cup. Connor McDavid averaging 1.73 points, not goals, points per game against Florida in his career, including the playoffs. That is the highest average points per game against Florida by any player in Edmonton's history, with a minimum of 20 games played. The other 2 names on the list that are in that discussion, Joe Sakic, Peter Forsberg, Mario Lemieux. You may have heard of those cats. Stuart Skinner, 6-1 in his past 7 starts with a 1.41 goals against average and a 94.4% save percentage with 3 shutouts in place. Over for the Panthers, the ninth franchise in NHL history with 3 consecutive Stanley Cup final appearances, and the second in the past 40 years, joining the 2020, 21, and 22 Lightning. Florida can also become the 10th franchise in NHL history to repeat as Stanley Cup champions, and the 8th dating back to 1968. The Panthers enter Game 1 in Edmonton, having won their past 5 road playoff games, outscoring opponents 27-7 over those 5 games, while going 6 for 14 on the power play. Over Florida's last 10 games, Sergei Bobrovsky has a 1.57 goals against average, a 93.5 save percentage, and 2 shutouts. He enters the Stanley Cup final with 57 career playoff wins, second most behind only Andrei Vasilevsky with an active score. So, what's this series breakdown like? Well, we'll start with this. We'll start from the back. We'll start from goalkeeping. Goalkeeping wins you Stanley Cups. Pretty much even. Sergei Bobrovsky has been fantastic. Stuart Skinner has been fantastic. I don't think that there is an edge in the goaltending department between these 2 teams. Bob has been big, but Bob had a couple of spots in these playoffs where he got to looking a little shaky. Sergei Bobrovsky is a cat that if you dump one in on him early, he can get a little bit shaky. If you dump one in on him early, he can get a little bit rattled between the pipes. That is the key for Edmonton. They have got to get one past Sergei early, probably in each game. That's not easy to do because, again, Bobrovsky is a very good goalkeeper. But if you score early, he can get rattled. That is why that 93.5 save percentage is where it is and not closer up to 96, 97. Because he lets 1 in, he lets 3 in. That's just kind of the way it's worked so far. For Florida, I think the key is do exactly what you did to the Carolina Hurricanes. For Florida, it is be aggressive, be obnoxious, hit them late, hit them hard, hit them often. This is one of those spots that I say, I do not like the way that the Florida Panthers play hockey. I think it is, to a degree, dangerous. I think it crosses a lot of lines. I think they go outside the lines very often. At the same time, much like I've said about SGA and his diving, if they're going to let you get away with it, do it, right? Like I've said with SGA and the diving. I don't fault Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for being a flop artist, for being a free throw merchant, if you wish to label him as such. I don't blame him for that. I blame the NBA. I blame the officials. If the NBA and the officials stepped in and said, hey, we got to be better about this. We can't let this guy just throw himself on the ground and be good for 2 points every time. Can't happen. Well, with the NHL, it's kind of a similar situation. If you are going to allow Florida to hit late, to hit hard, to hit often, to hit off puck, if you are going to allow Florida to play that style of hockey, why would anyone be shocked that they're playing that style of hockey? It has given them what they've needed to reach the Stanley Cup in back-to-back years. I said it the day they went and got him. That's why they got Brad Marchand up out of Boston. It's not because, and Brad's a very good player. Brad's a third-line player. Maybe on his best day, he's a second-line player. He's not a first-line player anymore. So why would they give up what they gave up to go get Brad Marchand? The answer is very easy. Because Florida wants to play the style of hockey that Brad Marchand has made a career out of playing. Florida wants to play the style of hockey that has made Brad Marchand a household name and ordinarily accompanied by a cuss word or two. They want to play that style of hockey. Brad Marchand plays that style of hockey better than maybe anybody has ever played that style of hockey. So you go get the guy to be your locker room leader. You go get the guy to say, look, this is how you do it. This is how you hit him so the ref ain't looking. This is how you hit him so it doesn't look like you're hitting him intentionally. This is how you hit him away from the puck. This is how you hit him late. This is how you do that. And so far, it's worked out for Florida. I said going into the Eastern Conference Finals against the Hurricanes. If the Hurricanes win, they are going to have to be remarkably disciplined because Florida wants to play bully ball. And they want to play bully ball so that they can get you out of sorts. They can get you off your game. They can get you in a spot where you do not know how to react. They can get you in a spot where you start hitting back late. They can get you in a spot where you start losing your cool. They can get you in a spot where you start making mistakes. And once they got you there, they've won the game. Carolina dropped 3 games in a row. After game 2, Rod Brind'Amour, excellent coach for the Canes. Rod Brind'Amour got on the mic and he said, we got to be more disciplined. We're letting them dictate the game to us. And it's not even between the whistles, right? Or it's exclusively between the whistles. It's not even while the ice is hot. We are letting them dictate the game to us in terms of physicality, and we are responding to their bull bleep. When they start acting a fool, we start reacting to it, and we got to stop. And they did for 1 game. And they won that game, and they lost the series 4-1 because in the last game, in game 5, when it mattered, they went right back to it. They started reacting. They started responding. They started allowing Florida to get in their heads. It is the exact same situation for me with the Edmonton Oilers. You cannot allow Florida to get into your head. You cannot allow Florida to dictate the physicality of the game. You cannot allow Florida to start earning extra power plays. Now, there is an advantage for Edmonton in that with the Canes, their penalty kill unit is remarkably similar to a first and second line unit for Carolina. Their penalty kill unit is basically the guys that they rely on to win the game, to score and win the game. And when you are sending those guys out for 8, 9, 10, 12 minutes of penalties during games, they're worn out. They're exhausted. They're tired. And I think you saw that in Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I think you saw that in Game 5 because you started to see late into that game a Carolina team that not only did not have its legs under it, a Hurricanes team that very clearly was exhausted, that very clearly was out of gas. But not only did that impact the hockey that they wanted to play, it impacted the hockey and the mentality of the team. You could see that it started to get increasingly less difficult for Florida to get those off-puck shots, to get those extra board shots, to get those behind the offense shots, to get those, the refs looking the other way because the puck's down there. Let me give this guy a little what on the side. And Carolina started to react. Will they give 6 power plays away in Game 5? Knowing, coming into that game, with Rod Brind'Amour, not Rod Brown, the other Rod Brind'Amour. Brind'Amour is telling the team, guys, cannot give up 10 penalty minutes, 12 penalty minutes, 14 penalty minutes. We cannot do it. If we allow them on the power play for 10, 12, 14 out of 60 minutes, we're going to lose to them because that's what they want. And when it gets to the point, and again, less impactful, not impactful, but less impactful for Edmonton because their penalty kill unit is a little bit different than their primary goal scoring unit. So they won't be quite as exhausted. But if it does get to where there are 12, 14, 16 penalty minutes in a game, Edmonton will be in trouble too. Because even if it's not your main dudes, number one, the more times you allow Florida to have a skater advantage, the more likely it is they are to net one. It's a good power play unit. And number two, even if your penalty kill unit is totally different than your frontline unit, than your primary scoring unit, you're still taxing them They are going to run out of gas too. So for Edmonton, it is score early, and it is stay disciplined. Do not allow Brad to get you out of your sorts. Do not allow Brad to start giving you the extra hits that you try to get retaliation for, and you end up in the box. You cannot let that happen. If you do, you will suffer the same fate as Carolina. I think Edmonton will probably take it further into the series, but you will suffer the same fate as Carolina if you play it that way. As of today, I'm leaning Florida in 7. I reserve the right to change that up until the end of tomorrow's show because game 1 is tomorrow night. But as of right now, I've got a slight lean to Florida in 7. I do think they're a good enough front line, and I think their second and third lines are just slightly better. A, B, I think they can dictate the game because they've done it to everybody else. And until somebody shows me that they can't dictate the game, then I'm going to believe that they can. Give me the Cats in 7. Give me a world-class championship caliber sports flash now.
Your request is denied. Novak Djokovic won his 100th career French Open, second behind only Rafael Nadal with a 6-2, 6-3, 6-2 win over Cam Norrie. With the win, Djokovic makes his way into the quarterfinals at Roland Garros and has yet to give up a set in the tournament. The Women's College World Series is set, and for the first time in a long time, it will not feature Oklahoma. The Sooners were taken down by the Red Raiders of Texas Tech 3-2 in the semifinals. Waiting for Texas Tech are their in-state rivals Texas, who knocked off Tennessee 2-0. The finals start Wednesday. The 2026 College Football Hall of Fame finalists have been announced, including on the ballot are Heisman Trophy winners Mark Ingram from Alabama, Cam Newton of Auburn, and Robert Griffin III of Baylor. AP National Player of the Year Ndamukong Suh is also on the ballot, joined by Eric Bieniemy, Dez Bryant, Kijana Carter, Marvin Harrison, Josh Heupel, James Laurinaitis, Ryan Leaf, Marshawn Lynch, and Peter Warwick. Think that punk who's not in the room. I did it. Ha. Bonjour, Steven. Comment allez-vous? Will you sing the song Aux Champs-Élysées on the Champs-Élysées? Whilst in France, will you ask the people if they played Expedition 33? Claire Osborne, Expedition 33.
Bonjour from Paris, Stephen. Glad to see you up in here. What time is it in Paris right now? Middle of the day, yeah? Or I guess early afternoon?
My French was better.
Merci beaucoup. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
Not with you, no. Unless it's just like a sleepover and we're not really, we got to stay in the same hotel room, but we're not, separate. Or my favorite French thing to say is "je ne sais pas."
What's that?
I don't know.
Okay. C'est la vie.
No, "je ne sais pas" means I don't know.
Oh. That's why it's your favorite thing to say. Got it now. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo, U, 844-326-3663 is the number to text the show on the Hub City Spartanburger text line. It's also the number to call the show if you want to get on the air, 844-326-3663. Let us get into the audio blitz. Just a little bit late, but I got a couple of clips I want to run for you.
Nope.
No, I'm doing it.
Nope.
Let's get to let's start with this one. Y'all know that I am a big believer in, as you should all be, washing your gosh dang hands.
Girl.
When you go to the bathroom, wash your hands. All right, we're not a
I
nation of
wasn't. I
savages.
wasn't saying don't wash your hands. It's that we know that he's into that.
Wash your
And-
damn
and
hands.
disorder. You wonder where he goes if you're watching on the stream during breaks. He's just standing in the restroom making sure everyone washes their hands.
Somebody's got to do it because you bunch of heathens won't, and I won't stand for it. There is also the set of restroom rules for those that utilize the men's restroom. You know what they are, right? We've had the conversation many times about which urinal you select and the fact that nobody ever teaches us this. It's just like it's either something we pick up by watching or we're naturally inclined to do so. There's one more restroom rule that I know is hit or miss for some people. I subscribe. If I'm standing in front of the urinal doing my business, don't talk to me. And I'll go one step further. If you're in front of the urinal doing your business, I shan't talk to you.
Did something just happen?
No.
Okay, all right. Because conversations happen quite a bit in our restroom.
As this is the audio blitz, I have sound of an elite level athlete who had an experience. Austin Dillon is a professional race car driver on the NASCAR circuit. And earlier this week, he was on a podcast. And one of the things that this pod does, and it is something that I am working on getting instituted here on the show. We tried it once, went okay, went away, probably going to bring it back, is an overnight voicemail. Just an open voicemail box that you can call in anytime, 24/7, 365 days a year, and say any crazy crap you want to say. And this podcast said, hey, if you got a comment or question or whatever for Austin Dillon, leave a message. And someone did. And this happened. So, first off, don't talk to me and I won't talk to you. Now, that's not to say I won't talk to you in a bathroom. If I'm sitting there washing my hands or if I'm standing by the door drying them off or whatever, yeah, we talk then. That's a talking place. Not when it's out. All right? Not when I'm carrying. Not in that particular moment, all right? And same for you. But my man hit me at the end there with, I was in a Pilot Flying J, which, by the way, they do a good job on the interstate bathrooms, all right? Them, Loves, they up the game on the bathroom. And I'll tell you what it is. It's because Bucky stepped in. They're like, uh-oh, we gotta up the quality of the bathrooms here or Bucky's is going to own every interstate in America.
Don't use the showers if you're not a trucker. I'm just saying.
I mean, listen, I'd be lying to tell you I haven't before, all right? So, I love the fact that my man pretty much acknowledged in that spot that there are dudes who meet him in the bathroom and go for the handshake pre-hand washing. That he just put it away, man. Like he just put it away. Let him slip in water for you first, please and thank you. All right. We don't always do sports on the Audio Blitz, and this is one of those times. Lonzo, do you subscribe, as you are the neighborhood conspiracy theorist here on the show, do you subscribe to the conspiracy theory that Stevie Wonder's not actually blind?
Yeah, I've heard several people say that he's not, including, I think, Shaq.
Well, add comedian Anthony Anderson to that list. I got to tell you, I think I'm bought in on Stevie Wonder's not blind.
See, I don't know. I
think I bought in.
He could be Daredevil, and also maybe Anthony Edwards, Anderson rather, and he makes me think of someone who breathes heavy. I'm just saying. He's a heavy breather.
He's a big boy.
He's a heavy breather.
Oh, he's not as big of a boy. I think he's lost a lot of weight. He used to be a real big boy.
He has. His head's still big, though.
Yeah,
so and the beard ain't hiding it. I mean, as someone who knows, I do. But I think Stevie just heard him breathing, and he walked to his breathing. That's what I think.
I mean, they were playing music on a stage.
Yeah, I still think he's a pretty heavy breather. You know, I'm just saying.
I am into. It's not just this clip, but it's this clip in combination with a lot of other ones I've heard, because it's at the point now where I think even A-list celebrities are at a point they're like, all right, Stevie's taking us all.
See, I don't know. Part of me thinks maybe
For the record,
it's
I
true.
love Stevie Wonder. Just so
yeah,
we're clear.
yeah. Part of me thinks it's true, and the other part makes me think that all these people are just continuing a joke.
I don't know, man. Like, that is a possibility. That this is just a inside Hollywood or inside New York or whatever, inside Detroit, it's a music thing, inside joke that's just being carried away. But, like, that's a lot of detail in a story right there, right? Like, that's a lot of details.
Yeah, that guy's pretty good. So yeah, I think he can make that stuff up. I mean, you know, I'm just, you know.
In yet another instance of, at the end of the day, dudes will be dudes. There is an actor that I think that we all love. He has been in a lot of phenomenal movies, including playing a very significant actor in the Star Wars universe. Liam Neeson. Now, Liam Neeson has that really like deep, gravelly voice, but he does the Irish accent, but like sometimes not. Taken, incredible movie. And now, Liam Neeson is coming out with a reboot of the Naked Gun franchise. And I'm going to tell you right now, if there is a movie between now and December 31st that I can guarantee you I will see in theaters, guarantee I'll see in theaters. It is not Fantastic Four. It is not Superman. It is Liam Neeson's Naked Gun. I have out loud laughed at the trailers.
Unfortunately, probably the worst of the three that you picked by a lot.
Judge away, bud.
I loved the original Naked Gun movies for sure, and the old series. There was a Police Squad, I believe, was the name of the show back in the day. I don't think you were alive. That was pretty funny. But yeah, I just.
I probably would have been anti-Naked Gun reboot, except until I found out that it was Liam Neeson in it.
See, I don't think he's funny. I hope I'm wrong.
His not being funny is what makes his being funny funny.
I know that's the point.
Because
I
that
get
guy
it.
should not be funny at all.
Yeah,
He
just
should only be a killer.
straight man. Exactly. I get it.
And yet, here he is doing promotional posters for this Naked Gun movie that are like just the picture is enough to laugh. Well, in the Dudes Will Be Dudes department, one of the things that happened is Liam Neeson is on a podcast tour promoting the movie. And of course, as he was a major part of the Star Wars universe, playing Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn for a very long time, he's been asked a number of Star Wars questions. And he told this fun little story. Liam Neeson got a lightsaber while they were filming the movie. And as he started to get into his first scene with a lightsaber, started making the lightsaber sounds. Which I will tell you, as a 40-year-old man, I will still do every time I get a wrapping paper tube. Me and the nephew will 1,000% go full on lightsaber fight, and I will do his pose, and I will do every.
I just want to point out, it's been the word of the day for the Rob Brown Show is we. He said we, which meant he wasn't the only one who did it. Whoever he was fighting did it too.
Oh, correct. But here's the thing. Me too. I got into a conversation 2-3 days ago. I was having dinner and drinks with some friends, and but a friend of the show, buddy of the show, Jack, and his wife, well, fiance, and one of her friends. And we were all sitting around. And they were talking about in June, they are going down for a week-long vacation in Mexico. And one of the girls that was with us, her boyfriend was not there. But she said she's having an issue with the boyfriend right now. And I said, why? And she said, well, we're trying to decide what we're packing and what we're bringing. We have so much space, and we all decided we're going to bring something for us as well as our regular stuff. And I said, okay, what's the problem? And she said he wants to bring his remote controlled dump truck and bulldozer. And I said, do what now? And she said, yeah, he wants to bring his remote controlled dump truck and bulldozer so he can make sandcastles in the sand with the construction group. And I said, why is that a problem? Why is that a problem? Why is that not awesome? And she went, he's not a child. And I said, you're right, but he's a bro. He's a dude. He's a guy. He's a boy. At the end of the day, we're all boys. Ladies, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you let us be boys when we want to be, we'll be better men when you need us to be. I promise. If you kill that spark that makes us want to play with remote-controlled bulldozers on the beach and make lightsaber sounds with gift-wrapped tubes, if you take that away from us, we're not going to be the thing you want us to be when he needs to be that thing too. All right? Let my guy live. Let my guy live. Let Liam Neeson make lightsaber sounds when he's doing a lightsaber thing. Yesterday, I asked a couple of questions about Inside the NBA on TNT and where it's going. Chuck Barkley joined the Dan Patrick Show yesterday, and Dano had some questions about what that show looks like moving over to ESPN, and Chuck revealed a couple of interesting things about the future, or maybe not. So Chuck says, first and foremost, we're only going to be working for ESPN about a half to a third of the time, which I didn't know. Like, I thought it was going to be the same schedule, the same times, right? Second off, he says TNT was like trying to do something to keep us here and doing that too, like doing it as an aside, except for TNT has no NBA rights. I mean, they can't show anything. So they just have us talking about the games without being able to show clips, without being able to show what we're talking about, why we're talking about it, whatever. Basically, I don't think either one of those networks has any idea what to do, honestly. Like the fact that ESPN is getting this show, and if Chuck is right, and they're only going to be working there a half to a third of the time, then you're wasting the show. You got the rights to this program that is the only basketball studio show worth watching, and you're going to give it to us, what, 1-2 nights a week? And on top of that, and this is where I do get genuinely concerned. I saw this take on the internet yesterday. I thought it was a good one. ESPN's entire modus operandi for these types of shows is to get to the next commercial. Get to the next commercial break. That's what it feels like to me anyway. And if they approach Inside the NBA on TNT with the model of let's get to the next commercial break, if they get to this, if they take this show in and decide that the approach that they want to take is let's figure out a way to get these boys in, get a couple of games out, and then get to a commercial, you will take away the magic that is Inside the NBA on TNT. Because the magic is giving them time to get to ridiculous discussions, basketball-centric, and go from there. So I'll see. We'll see. Now, giving me the, hey, dummy, get to a commercial break now.
It's ironic because we kind of need to get to the next commercial break, yes.
So let's do that now. The Rob Brown Show, the Fan Upstate.
Oh, this makes me sad.
What? Oh, yeah. Oh, do we have to kill that now?
Well, he's still the WWE superstar until he's a superstar somewhere else. And also, I mean, where do you practice? Are there like minor leagues for pillow fighting? Does it happen in clubs? I mean, is it a rec center thing? I mean, I don't know.
So the Football Power Index post-spring was released.
For which football?
College.
Oh, okay.
The FBI was released and put out its
The FBI?
Football Power Index.
Oh, FPI. Okay.
Yes, FPI.
Okay,
the
it sounded like you
Football
said FBI. My bad.
Power Index. And looking at the FPI, if this is something that you care about, and it's June, so we all do. The teams stack up this way. Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State are your top 4 FPI teams. Penn State is number 5. Other notables, Oregon at 6, Notre Dame 7, A&M 8, Miami 9, Tennessee 10, Clemson number 11 in the ESPN preseason post-spring FPI. LSU is after Clemson, then Ole Miss, Auburn, and South Carolina is 15th in the FPI. So, ESPN did a poll around its professional sports coverers about who's too high, who's too low, who's just right. And when asked what team is the FPI undervaluing, Mark Schlabach of ESPN said his argument is Clemson. And didn't just say Clemson, he said, and I quote, "I think you can argue that Clemson is one of the 2 best teams in the FBS entering the season, along with Penn State. And it's certainly one of the best 10, so it's surprising to see them at number 11. In our colleague Jordan Reed's initial 2026 NFL mock draft, he had 4 Tigers going in the first round, including quarterback Cade Klubnik at number 1. 3 seasons ago, Clemson fans wondered whether Klubnik was the right guy for the job. Now he's considered one of the most polished passers in the sport after throwing for 3,639 yards with 36 touchdowns and 6 interceptions last year. The Tigers have the best defensive line in the FBS, and Reed had tackle Peter Woods and edge rusher TJ Parker going in the top 10 as well. The Tigers open the season against LSU at home and play at South Carolina in the finale, but I can't see many ACC teams beating them. No issue with this take. No issue with this take, with Clemson deserving a top 10 position in the FPI. No issue with this take in saying that few ACC teams, if any, will be able to beat them outright. And no issue with singling out 2 specific games, LSU and South Carolina. Now, in fairness, those are the most 2 difficult games on the schedule, unless Florida State somehow has a resurrection like Lazarus, but I doubt it. No issue with picking those out as the top 2 teams. And you may dismiss what I am about to say as a result of the fact that there really are, respectfully, only 2 games on Clemson's schedule that concern you anyway. Those, of course, being LSU and South Carolina. But I think South Carolina getting a specific shout out there as one of the only threats to this Clemson Tiger football team tells you exactly what I've been saying for a while. I think there is a chance that this year the Palmetto State is a major power player in college football. Now, I would feel a heck of a lot better if this was a 16-team playoff year. I would feel a heck of a lot better if this was a 5+11 16-team playoff field. I'd feel a lot better about South Carolina's opportunity to sneak into the back half of the playoffs if it was a bigger field, because I think they would be hovering this year right around that 12 mark if all the chips fall the correct way for the Gamecocks. But looking at Clemson's schedule, again, open on August 30th at home against LSU. Then it's Troy, Georgia Tech on the road, Syracuse, back-to-back roadies against North Carolina and Boston College, back home for a 3-game set against SMU, Duke, and FSU at Louisville, back home for the tune-up game against Furman, and then on the road at South Carolina over at Willie B in Columbia. This, to me, says South Carolina's gotten the respect that you've been looking for the last couple of years. South Carolina has now got the respect that you were looking for. Because in a paragraph that is dedicated to making sure that Clemson fans and the rest of the country are aware that the Tigers ain't no joke this year. That the Tigers have potentially 4 NFL first-round draft picks on the roster starting this year and could have a handful more that are late-round guys. That this team is legitimate and this team has got everything on paper they need to be a threat. They also took the time to single out that South Carolina is one of the 2 dangerous opponents on the roster. And again, looking at that schedule, I don't know who else it could be. It ain't Troy. I'm very interested in what Brent Key does at Georgia Tech this year. I have been for the last couple of years. I kind of hoped, and maybe he will this year, that Haynes Keene, the quarterback there, was going to break out. I just don't know that Georgia Tech's on that level yet. I don't think it's Cuse. Lonzo's all in on North Carolina. Chapel Bill on Hoodie and the boys. I'm not. Over the past few years, you have lost 2 NFL first-round top 10 draft picks and at your 2 most important positions. And I don't see anybody that steps up to fill that role. At Boston College, that ain't it. Kevin Jennings at SMU. I mean, that's really the only other threat on the roster, I think, because Duke's not, Florida State's not, not, and Furman's not, with all due respect. There are 3 games on the schedule that matter. LSU, SMU, South Carolina. And the fact that Schleybaugh, in writing this up, decided to, when talking about the top 2 teams or the two biggest threats on Clemson's roster, that would prevent them from reaching that top 10 mark, which they did not get in the FPI, he specifically singled out alongside LSU, South Carolina. Now, we all know what Lenora Sellers is expected to be, or I guess for many of your Gamecocks, you hope he is going to be. You hope that he is going to be. And again, I've already said it. I would not be shocked at the end of this year if the state of South Carolina sees not 1 but 2 quarterbacks in the Heisman Trophy presentation at the Downtown Athletic Club in New York City. I would not be shocked if Cade and Lenoris are both finalists, if one of the 2 of them knocks the other out and wins the Heisman Trophy. And oh boy, howdy, how much fun is the rivalry and the bleep talking going to be after that? I would not be shocked if that's how that plays out. And if that is how that plays out, then yes, it would make sense that. And again, I think I am probably being optimistic here. I would even dare say I'm probably being aggressively optimistic here. But if I am correct in that these 2 quarterbacks, Cade Klubnik and Lenora Sellers, are both legitimately Heisman Trophy threats. And again, we did the odds a couple of weeks ago. Cade Klubnik is a top 2 odds getter. Lenora Sellers inside the top 7. Preseason. Vegas thinks that there are 6 players in all of college football more likely to make it to New York than Lenora Sellers. Scratch that. More likely to win it than Lenora Sellers. If I am right about both of these 2 teams, it is very possible at the end of the year that this game feels like it is for an at-large bowl spot. It is very likely that it feels like Clemson v. South Carolina in Columbia at the end of this year. It very much feels like that could be a spot where the winner sets themselves up. Now, I think Clemson's fine because I think they're winning the ACC again this year. The ACC is not going to be good. But I would make the argument that for Clemson, even if you've punched the ticket, we all know Clemson's not going to rest, even if they've already got the ticket to the ACC bowl game. They want to win that game. Dabo's made that clear that that's the way that he approaches that game, and I respect it. But it is very possible if these 2 teams reach the heights, if these 2 quarterbacks reach the heights that I think that they are capable of reaching. I think it is very possible that that game could be, for South Carolina, a ticket to be inside where they need to be inside to get into the bowl game. And for Clemson, an opportunity too. And I don't know how much this matters to them. I don't know how much it matters to y'all. I assume the answer is a lot. It would be an opportunity for Clemson to prevent South Carolina from getting into the playoffs. And I would assume that for a rivalry as good as this rivalry has been, at least since I have been here, I would assume that Clemson preventing South Carolina from getting a bowl spot, a playoff spot, would feel just as good as them earning their own, right? They go to the ACC title game. Unless things just go tragically wrong, they are likely still in. Win the ACC, you're in. Lose the ACC, you can have a loss and still be in, as SMU proved last year. But if you can get that win, especially if you're 11-0, can finish off an undefeated regular season, and that loss feels like it is the loss that will keep South Carolina out of a playoff spot, I assume Clemson's going to be all in on that. I'm genuinely intrigued by that. And it is only June 3rd. All right, let's take a break. Come back. Got a couple more things I want to sprint through before we get up out of here for the day. We'll talk some NBA for just a moment. We'll get some college baseball and softball in here. We'll ask what the X is going on, and we'll call it a day on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Other teams could have gotten worse, James.
I'm going to get to the sports, but I just found a thing, and it's a thing I must immediately address. There are some, I'm going to air quote this so hard I sprain a finger, sporting events out there that are absolutely diabolical. Once a year, we talk about the roll the wheel of cheese down the hill and everybody throws themselves off the side of the cliff like they have a death wish event that takes place in England.
This year is the dude that goes flying at the end. I don't know if you've seen that. It's pretty amazing.
Amazing is a word.
It is. It's an apt description.
That sporting event and other sporting events like it are sporting events that I would lean into the language of the cheering and describe as diabolical. That word has made a resurgence. I'm here for it. Nice job, kids. I've just found another one. An event that began as a goofy event in Denver, Colorado, has now spread. In fact, it just took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota over the weekend.
Does it have to do with weed? Because
it does not.
Colorado, so.
It does not. Now, it does have to do with a place that probably greatly benefits from weed. An event that started in Denver known as the Taco Bell 50K. Not 5K, which is like 3 miles. This is a 50K, which checks out to be about 30 miles. The Taco Bell 50K is a 50-kilometer race, farther than a marathon, which is measured out with multiple, in this case, 7, Taco Bell restaurants along the way. The rules of the race are very simple. Complete it as quickly as possible, and you must consume one menu item at each of the 7 Taco Bell locations along the race route. Runners must consume, included in their 7 items, at least 1 burrito and 1 crunch wrap as part of their 7 items. You are allowed to vomit, take a restroom stop, or consume Pepto-Bismol, specifically written into the rules. Now, if I told you that was a thing, you might say, okay, that's interesting. How many people did this? Well, 1, 2, 3 people? No.
The crunch wrap thing, that adds something because it's a taco inside of a burrito. So there's a whole lot more bread involved or flour, rather.
50 people did this thing. 50 people. Here are the full rules.
When you were 20, you wouldn't have tried this.
Correct. I'll eat 7 Taco Bell menu items. I'll do that today.
Oh, when I was 20.
But running 30 miles to do it?
Oh, so you actually physically have to run.
You run.
So yeah, I was thinking you get in a car and you do it, and
Nope.
it's more about, okay.
This is a race.
All right.
Here are the full rules of the Taco Bell 50K. Rule number 1, must be present at one of the 10 Taco Bell stops along the courses. 0 tolerance for course cutting. Number 2, eat a menu item from at least, it's 9, not 7. The original was 7, now it's 9. Eat a menu item from at least 9 of the 10 Taco Bell stops. By the 4th stop, all entrants must have consumed at least 1 Chalupa Supreme or 1 Crunchwrap Supreme. Dietary restrictions will be allowed within reason. Now, I'd like to point out, the Crunchwrap Supreme is a top 4 go-to for your boy Rob Brown. Crunchwrap Supreme double beef is a go-to staple of your boy when the sun is down.
It's very good, by the way. And I'm just curious, so you run, are you allowed to sit down while you eat, or do you got to keep running while you eat?
Rest of the rules, we'll see if that's answered. By the 8th stop, all entrants must have consumed at least 1 Burrito Supreme or 1 Nachos Bel Grande. For the record, those are the 4 best things on the item menu.
They're okay till they get cold. And nachos get cold so fast.
Rule number 5, finish under 11 hours. Rule number 6, drinks do not count as food. Rule number 7, entrants must keep all receipts and wrappers for confirmation of stupidity at the end of the run. That's literally written in the rules. Number 8, an off-course bathroom break is allowed at Washington Park. Number 9, survivors, in all caps, will eventually get a commemorative item after successful completion of the run. Rule number 10, if you intend to participate, RSVP your statement of intent. Once you RSVP, you are in. This is like the goblet of fire. Number 11, no on-course Pepto, Alka-Seltzer, Pepsi AC, or Mylanta will be allowed. Oh, so the Minnesota folks are not joking around with this. Rule number 11, additional rules may be added, amended, or changed to promote the intent of this run, which is to do something completely stupid. Rule number 13, congratulations, ? Literally written as a question. I will go with this. Do I think I could sit down today and eat 9 Taco Bell food items? Yes, I could. Even if you said,
Do you see how much actually comes in one of those boxes?
Yeah.
I mean, you're pretty close to that already.
well, it says one item. It doesn't say one combo meal.
No,
It says
you
one
said,
item.
could you sit down and eat? No, yeah.
So
you
if
could.
I have to eat 9, and one of them must be either a Chalupa Supreme or a Crunchwrap Supreme, and another one of them must be either a Burrito Supreme or Nachos Bel Grande, I think I could still do it. However, what I can tell you for a fact is, if I sat down and ate 9 Taco Bell menu items, there is only one place I would be running within the next day.
All right, so I just have to say, I am 56 years old, going on 57. I don't recall ever getting diarrhea from eating Taco Bell. And I get that a lot of people, it's common to say, oh, make a run, haha, and all that kind of stuff. And we've got some people on the stream saying that. I have never had that. I don't know anyone that I'm aware of until I guess possibly Rob, who's had that problem after going to Taco Bell. Taco Bell was a place to go when I was a teenager. Before we went to a movie or we went to the arcade or something like that, we would go to Taco Bell. Never got diarrhea. So I just think it's everyone talks about, oh, I'd never go there, but still everyone goes there. So I just don't get the stereotype had to come from somewhere.
So a couple of
obviously.
things. Number one, everybody goes there is just not correct. I know a number of people in my life who refuse to go to the Bell.
All right,
I regularly
let me
run
elaborate.
for the border.
Rob, enough people go for it to still be in business
That's
all
smart.
these
That's
years
fair.
later. Okay.
That's fair. I will also tell you that number 2, I think for the Taco Bell consumption crowd, of which I am absolutely a member, I am not ashamed to acknowledge and admit it. I love the Bell. I run for the border regularly.
Ooh, is this a mixing of alcohol that causes the thing, possibly?
Regularly.
Okay, all right.
Regularly.
So that might be why I'm not affected by it.
Put it in this. No. The alcohol is the reason I go to the Bell in the first place.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought the mixing of the alcohol with the food
No.
is what caused the.
I think that the absorption of Taco Bell, which is traditional Mexican fare Americanized.
By the way, we are willing to take you on as a sponsor, Taco Bell, because we both obviously
Love the Bell.
love
Run for the border regularly. As somebody who is a not as much as I used to be, because it unfortunately it does not sit with me like it used to. Yeah, there have been some episodes of digestive distress that have taken place courtesy of the Bell. But I also acknowledge that is more often than not because of the fact that when I go to the Bell, I'm getting like 4 things. Like there has never been may I have a Crunchwrap Supreme and nothing else, please? It's like, all right, get ready, order the taker guy. Hope you got your button pushing finger ready, because let's get it.
All right, back in the day when I worked at the grocery store and made no money, all right, at least a little bit less than what I make now, going and only having enough to buy like one taco and a refillable drink was the thing that we would do. So,
the order machine for me has usually got smoke coming out of it. I would like a Nachos Bel Grande to start. I might as well give you the dessert now. I'd like one of those little cinnamon churro twisty things that y'all got. Give me one of those. I will take a Crunchwrap Supreme. The most underrated and underappreciated thing on the menu is the chicken quesadilla, because it's got like this like Chipotle ranch aioli kind of stuff on the inside of it. I guess at Taco Bell it's just sauce, but it's like Chipotle sauce on the inside. I love a Taco Bell chicken quesadilla. I will get 1 or 2 of those.
All these things you're talking about, you can get in one of those boxes and it's cheaper, I guess.
I want all of them though. I don't want like
all
Crunchwrap and the churros.
Well,
I
you
want
can mix
Bel
and
Grande.
match.
I want the Crunchwrap Supreme. I want 2 chicken quesadillas. I want the churros. I absolutely want a Baja Blast. Anybody who knocks the Baja Blast just has not been adapted into the lifestyle. The Baja Blast is an untouchable quality of the Mountain Dew.
You can now get that in the store, by the way.
Oh, I'm very aware. And I can also tell you I'm very aware. Mixes great with vodka. Love
But no one's
the Bell.
surprised that you went there.
What do you want? I like new, fun, refreshing things in my life. However, I have also experienced the reality of I had Taco Bell for dinner last night, and today I shall pay the price. It has happened. It has happened. If it's not happening, and I will say, Rob Brown's got an iron stomach. I grew up in Southeast Louisiana. I've eaten stuff that most of y'all would like turn your nose up at. I got an iron stomach. I can eat just about anything. I can eat just about any level of spice that you want. I can eat just about any level of garbage and be just fine. But I've absolutely had, and they're not alone. They're not the only ones. They're not alone.
All right, and this is not. Please don't. How often have you eaten Taco Bell where alcohol was not involved? Also, I'm just trying to figure out if that's a catalyst for your stomach discomfort later.
I mean, I can't say I've done enough research to say it is or is not.
Okay.
What I can say is I know that I've had the Casa de Taco a few times and not been drunk. Because like Taco Bell for me, if I am driving back to the crib, I know I got nothing at home, but I've lost the will to live and I don't want to go into a grocery store. So you know what? Screw it. I'm getting fast food. The Bell absolutely is one of the first registering choices. Like Five Guys registers, but you got to order, you got to wait for them to make the burger, grill it up, put it together, blah, 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 blah. If I'm just like, give me in the driveway, in the drive-thru, give me my food, give me back to the crib. The Bell is at the top of the list. It is up there before, and I can say this for sure, it is up there before and ahead of any of the fast food burger joints.
I just wonder if you can run that long and you're in that kind of shape.
You don't need Taco Bell.
You probably don't. So
Yeah.
is that the point? Does it affect you worse because you don't have that kind of intake because you have to be in that kind of shape to run that far?
I'm gonna go with most people probably that are capable of running. I'll tell you this: I've probably run like 50 miles in my life. These people are out there running a 50K race. You have 11 hours to finish it.
By the
That's
way, Matthew
dumb.
in the news department for WRD runs mini marathons. He's like the size of the people who run marathons.
I ain't doing it. Can't do it. Won't do it. Don't want to do it. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right. That's dumb. And if you do that, it's bad. James said the beefy five-layer burrito was a game changer. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Kane says, I love the Bell and the Crunch Wrap is supreme, but it does give me diarrhea, and I love Taco Hell so much that I also love what it does to my gut, no matter how unpleasant, minus the alcohol. Taco Bell, I shall never condemn you nor abandon you. I love you. In fact, I'm leaving immediately after the show to go get a Crunch Wrap Supreme.
I was going to say, it sounds like
Yeah, I'm going to get one
lunch.
now. Yep. That's happening.
Made it this far and now just falling apart. All right, the first thing that's Xing is The Miz.
The Miz is Xing because after the announcement earlier this week that Buddy of the show R-Truth and Buddy of that one girl I took to New Orleans and he stole from me that one time, Carlito, are not having their contracts renewed, The Miz went and apparently scrubbed all things WWE off of his social media. The Miz is in the next round of wrestlers whose contracts are coming up. And so now people are beginning to speculate, well, if R-Truth isn't safe, is The Miz up next for release from the WWE, which to me would be the second worst release of the TKO era since R-Truth.
Well, and the AEW hardcore fans are going nuts saying, don't you dare mention The Miz coming over here and stuff like that. It's like, whatever, dude. All right, the next thing it's Xing is Tom Holland.
I got no idea why. I'm very curious. I'm assuming that to some level,
There's no way you'll get it. I'm sorry, but you'll appreciate it.
Okay, hang on. Tom Holland was seen at an NBA game with Zendaya.
No, but
Okay.
that's a good guess. Okay, Tom Holland is Xing because Saquon Barkley just filmed thing for
Oh yes, for the Madden cover.
which he had to do a little bit of wire work
Yep.
doing his leap, and he said now he has great appreciation, even more great appreciation for Tom Holland, who does majority of his stunts.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider. Yeah, I did actually see the photo shoot that they were doing. They put him on suspended cables and had him basically reenact the butt jump.
The backwards leap.
Yeah, the butt
yes.
jump is pretty rad. I mean that's cool. Like I appreciate that out of Saquon, giving some props to Spider-Man. He deserves them.
All right, a couple more things. AJ Styles is Xing.
AJ Styles is Xing because last night after Monday Night Raw went off the air, AJ Styles ended up teaming with CM Punk in a tag team against, I know who the one guy is. Who was his partner? Because I hadn't seen it. Did you see it?
They actually wrestled against each other. And
Him and Punk did?
yeah, it was in a, I believe it was a 3-way.
No, it was a tag team match after it went off the air.
No,
or
I'm
was
talking
this from
about-
the qualifying
No,
match?
I'm talking about from the qualifying match.
Ah, I gotcha.
Have you seen the CM Punk has sent out X's towards AJ Styles because you should see CM Punk's nose.
Did it get popped?
Well, you look it up. I mean, he took a kick from AJ and it left a mark. That's all. That's all I'm
Nice.
saying. It left a. It might even have made it crooked. Did you see a picture?
I have not.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
I'm working on it.
So, and CM Punk said, appreciate it. All right. The last thing that is Xing, I should not have clicked on, but I innocently clicked on this. Okay.
Lonzo clicked on Batty's Gone Wild yesterday.
No, I didn't click on that. This was meow meow. All right. I should not have clicked on that because I thought it was a cat thing. It was the number one thing Xing. And if you click on it, there are cat things. And then there are scantily clad women. It's like every other one. It's like, okay, why in the world would this? Yeah, so it's meow meow. Do not click on that at work.
I mean, I can't add anything to that. I hope that you all have a fantastic day. You all just got to hear absolute radio gold from Lonzo. I will cherish that moment for the rest of my life. Have a lovely rest of your day. Thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, you have bad taste in radio. Come back tomorrow. We'll try all over again to be better than we are. For the great Alonzo, I'm Rob. Don't drink a drive, punch you in the face. See you back here tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Later.
You find the picture of Punk? The Punk actually tweeted it out to AJ Styles.
Someone just sent me ESPN Films presents 0 for 30. The Angel Receiver.
Yeah, see, I didn't want to send it to you because
He proved you can miss 100% of the
yeah.
shots you take.
Yeah, I didn't. I saw that earlier. I was dying. I didn't want to send it to you because in case you and I are really fighting and you want to use that against me. And this is the kind of stuff he's sending to me. You should be fired stuff. So yeah, so I decided against it. Although there is a promo where I'm destroying Angel Reese, so I guess I should have just sent it to you. I haven't heard the sound, but it looks like it might be Oscar worthy.
Got a lot on my plate right now, but I was making room for you. Thank you for the boot print on my nose. Let's not wait 21 years for the next time.
It looks. I don't know if it's normally that crooked, but it looks a little crooked to me. I'm just saying.
All right, dudes, we're out. Thanks for being here. Wesley, adios. Kane, James, thanks to the boys for being here. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a good one. Hasta luego.